Good evening. This is Ghettos in the Mind. This is episode 24, I think. We get up there. Hey.
I know what you're recording, God damn it.
Yes. My name is Todd Hammond, Street Librarian. I'm here with my gang of peoples here to discuss different topics. This week I usually have a kind of topic questions that I want to that I want to discuss or discuss to go along. I'm going to put the link to the Zoom in the chat. If anyone wants to join in, feel free to join in. I'll admit you as long as you don't act crazy. I'm gonna let we had discussion going all the way. I'll just take over. What say you? I'll let you handle it this week. You have the question of the day, the scenario that we're gonna try.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo.
So what do you say, Mr. Ologist? What's your opinion? What say you?
Ologist is muted right now.
He's muted, I know. So anyhow, I know he's muted. So anyhow, what I wanted to talk about, and actually I thought that someone else had a question here earlier, but what I wanted to talk about a little bit earlier is, and I'm gonna see if I can figure it right, because I know let's ask this question, Sean. It was about people of color.
Oh, Ologist can't unmute.
Oh, he can't? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't unmute him. I don't know. The question we're thinking about earlier is, should Black people or people of color stay with the Democratic Party? As you know, most Black people are generally Democrat. They vote along Democratic lines, but most times we usually wind up getting the short end of the stick. At least that's what we tend to believe. And I guess I'll ask out in general, does anyone think that we should vote differently or change our vote or go to another party?
No, because I would never vote against my self-interest. I personally, there's some things that I don't know with conservative Republican. There's some things that I agree, as far as whether it be taxes and security, I agree with some of this stuff, but it's not the majority of what I subscribe to. And I'm open-minded. I would vote for a Republican candidate if I felt that, it was in the best interest of myself and my family. But overall, as long as you have people like Laura Ingraham, the Hannitys, the Tucker Carlsons who identify with being Republican, I don't want to be associated with them. Not especially what your boy McConnell said yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I heard it. I didn't really dig into it. What he's saying, but here, let me give you more of a context of that question.
Yeah.
Do you think that by being so religiously Democrat, being so faithful and so dependable as that party, do we get shortchanged in the things that we ask for because we constantly because it's expected?
Oh, can I do that one?
So yeah. So basically, any Democratic candidate needs to do is go to church, maybe go to a couple community things, and he's got 80% of Black people blocked up. Should we consider maybe not being free agents? And I'll reference a couple things that kind of make that argument towards it. But go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead, you're the point. What's your point?
It's funny because because I know a lot of us do lean Democrat. The thing is, most Democrats across the board are more receptive to voting Republican, more so than say Republicans are. That's a first. Second, I kind of look at it as like we're kind of caucusing with the Democrats because the reality is there's not many good alternatives. Many of the things we want or some of the things we want, the Republicans or other parties really aren't going to go for them. So in a way, our interests lie. What I feel is kind of the bigger problem is they keep a lot of the Democrats and trying to get Black votes. It kind of feels like we're being condescended to or like talked down to. And I think that's what's also like polarizing many blacks from not wanting to vote Democrat just because like we know the game being played.
Right.
I don't think you fuckers really care about the shit we care about, but you do want our vote.
But we're also being taken for granted, big time. That we're assuming that
Your voice is a little is kind of muddled a little bit.
Hold on.
Sounds
Can you
hot.
hear
Keep
me?
talking like that.
Hold on. Maybe I need to take off my headphones. But hold on.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got.
Go ahead, Leon. Say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Wait, I might need to flip to my laptop.
You better. Your son's better.
Can
you
send the link?
You're better now. We can hear you.
Yep. You better.
Ologist, were you able to unmute?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay.
And-
So let me. So we got a full house here. So I'm gonna back up a little bit and sort
What's
of
up,
restate
DJ?
the question. What's up,
Hey,
DJ?
how y'all doing?
So here's the question that Les brought up, and I kind of thought it'd be interesting to talk about. Do you think that, well, off the bat, most African Americans vote 80-90% Democrat? Do you think
Yes.
that collectively Black people should reconsider our allegiance to the Democratic Party due to, out of, should we? Let's say in that
Yes.
sense.
Yes, without hesitation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say no.
I
I'd
think
say
we
no.
need to let people know or remind people of our power. You know what I mean? I think we need to do that in order to really get more of what's needed. I won't even say wanted, what's needed, but definitely need
Correct.
to remind folks of our power.
How do you think we
Because
should do that?
clearly, Georgia. If we always wind up in Georgia, don't we? But
It
Georgia,
does.
clearly, the power of the Black vote came from Georgia, or showed in Georgia.
Yep.
So I think across the board, we need to let people know our power and not have them just automatically assume that we're going to be there. And I agree with Sean. I'm not inclined to vote against my self-interest either. But if we keep going administration after administration, okay, we got the Black vote. Now we do all this other shit and don't really do anything for Black folks. Then it's going to become a bigger problem.
It's funny. I keep thinking I've been thinking about this all week, actually. I actually think it's been hurting the Democratic Party to be like this. First and foremost, though, as Black people or whatever, we just need to vote for whatever in our best interest. If what we prioritize to say people living below the poverty line, most of the time, that's going to be Democrat. If you're more concerned about your personal individual taxes, like you see yourself one man as an island or whatever, it's probably going to be voting Republican or whatever. It's really based on what your personal interests are. That's what really the split is.
Well,
I think no, go ahead, Ologist.
No, I was just gonna say, well, that's on the assumption that one party has our best interests at heart. And when you look at platforms and what they say, but when you look at what they do for us and the receipts after they are in power, neither power. I mean, so we have to do something to what Leon said to assert our power. And we have to figure out what that is. No, Democrats promise us the world. They get elected, and then Biden has his plan for Black America. Google it, go through the points and see what he's done in the year
What
and
he's
some
been
change.
able to successfully get past.
No. Like he had a platform. He had a platform for Black folks. He had a platform. He put it on the website. Several things that he said he was going to do. Go to the website and see how much of that was completed. And it's just like even within the Democratic Party, it's the same thing with the progressive wing. Like, whereas, how can I say it? The Republicans are a little bit different. You look at the Tea Party, when the Tea Party came into effect, they found some way to have a coalition and to work together and to get common interest stuff done. The Democrats with the progressive side of their party, like they, in a sense, they eat their young for the fact of the folks that's at the top of the party, they don't, because the progressives don't have the numbers to put across their agenda, they will tank or shoot out of the sky their own agenda to not have the progressive agenda or think points of the aggressive agenda implemented. And that's what happened with the infrastructure bill. Like they tried to play hardball and they rolled over, but then the time clock was too late. Mitch McConnell gathered the resources and they was able to basically put a kibosh on it or minimize it. And here we are. And that's not the only example of it.
And that's the other thing. We were talking about voting against self-interest. Like, I don't understand how folks vote against self-interest. You know what I mean? Especially like folks in rural communities. Like, how do you vote? Like, if the Democratic Party is really trying to help you or do, I mean, I know it's how they grew up, but if it party is more important than what it's going to help you, it's crazy to me. I mean, that's just my opinion.
I can answer your question because I've had this debate more times
first,
than I can
Aaron,
count.
and I'll add. Abstract.
The issue there is if the individual understanding of what's best for them is like, I want you to say, cut my taxes without really going into the details of what that means. If you're looking at it from a very individual basis, your own individual income, cutting taxes is going to be great for you. Across the board and across generations, it's bad for your state because your state doesn't have any money to reinvest. What ends up happening is people get to hold on to a certain level of wealth, and that wealth slowly shrinks because they're not reinvesting it back into their schools, their children, infrastructure, mental health services, the shit that increases the overall quality of life. Increased quality of life has a spillover effect of, more successful people, more successful generations. If you look at the issues very narrowly, what's in your immediate scope, what you can literally see, it comes off like a conservative argument is the best one. A tougher argument to make if someone isn't looking at things from a broad enough perspective is, the Democrat perspective, I would say, is a much broader, more encompassing perspective on this, because they're taking in more considerations of what's best for you, what's best for everyone, what's best for society. And there's a lot of spillover effect of that help creating a better quality of life. Tough sell if you're used to looking at things with blinders on or from a very narrow point of view.
I got you.
Well, you have to look at it like this, and you got to kind of put like people in our demographic in one category, and the establishment, middle class Anglo-Saxons in another category. Like folks in our situation, like we typically are born into survival mode, and we know the tangible, obtainable things that we feel that we need to survive, survive and do the stuff that we need to do and live comfortably. But when you're born into a situation where you're already there, you can get into more meta or sort of esoteric things, and they focus more on cultural stuff and maintaining cultural continuity and consistency. So that's how you vote against your own interests, because you don't realize, because you think that the tangible subsistence type things that you need to survive will just always be there because they always have, and you were born into existence like that. Then when folks are saying things that kind of go against that, you don't really catch it because you never had to. But when you're in survival mode, you're readily aware of those things that impact your ability to survive on a second to second kind of basis. When laws or things are passed, you realize you can almost intuitively understand how that's going to impact your day to day immediately, whereas other folks don't necessarily see that.
Yeah,
and that's how come they can vote against their own interests.
Yeah, because I mean, and I guess one of the examples I was thinking of, like rural America, who doesn't have health insurance. When the Democrat, i.e., President Obama, was trying to provide insurance for everybody, people in rural America didn't want it when they absolutely needed it. You know what I mean? Like, why would you vote against something that you need? Like, just basic shit.
Force, mandatory mandate, it forced them to get insurance, which they hated. And for some people, there wasn't health insurance available in their area. The Republicans that actually really loved that shit were the ones who were like, you know, oh no, I'm about to go bankrupt. Those cats are the ones that became Democrats down the line just because of Obamacare. But across the board, everyone was not as equally fucked up or didn't understand that like us all buying into this means less people die. They don't care. What this basically means is I have to get insurance. I have to go buy this thing, which in practice is a tax increase for everybody else, not them. And unless you're the person who says a stage 4 cancer, you don't give a fuck.
No, I mean, now that it's in place, people don't want it repealed. They want it reformed. But now that they have health care, they see the benefit.
Which is pretty much everything Democrats ever successfully do. We hate it, we hate it, we hate it. Gets passed. I can't remember a time after this. Martin Luther King. We hate him, we hate him, we hate him. Now he's passed. Such an angel. Healthcare, gay rights, trans rights. Trans rights are still
That's
debatable,
not
but
such a good
especially gay rights.
example.
I'm just
Martin-
saying.
No, voting rights is on the chopping block, and that was Martin Luther King, the pinnacle of what he wanted to do, and that's on the chopping block. So even though people say like it's wonderful, it's always the backlash or the instaunch people who will fight against it and try to repeal it, and they will have a long-term goal and be methodical about it, and thus here we are.
Yep.
Yeah, I think all of this is right. The opposition to something like voting rights has never went away. They've just been slowly chipping at it, and they've slowly moved the conversation and abstracted it in such a way that they can get people to go along with anything so long as they can be convinced that someone else is essentially going to lose. And just to build on the question of how do you get people to vote against their own best interests, you distract them. Leon pointed out that people in rural America would most generally benefit from healthcare, but the idea of being mandated to have to get something, having to buy a product, goes against the conservative idea of individual freedom. Like how now, granted that is fluid because they'll throw that out whenever they want to, whenever it's something they want. Because even the individual mandate came from a Heritage Foundation suggestion, and it was generally presented or framed as a way of getting freeloaders off the system. If everybody's required to have to buy this product, then you won't be having to give people your hard-earned money away to lazy freeloaders. That's essentially what it was, until it became a democratic pillar, and then it became, well, this is an individual freedom. Yeah. You some of it is conservatives have so effectively villainized anyone who isn't them that it does not matter.
Mike's what he just said, I have an example. There's a Republican senator, I believe he was a congressman, who literally said, this law we're about to pass is going to benefit everyone, even the Democrats. Thunderous boos. He's resigning. Because fundamentally, this person believes what he's fighting for or what he's doing is going to have a benefit for everybody. And the Republicans hated that idea.
Because the Republicans have essentially been creating the idea that they have been creating the idea that the Democrats are an existential threat, not only to a political philosophy, but to them as an entity. and now we're much more of a team mentality.
Democracy to their version of democracy.
Well,
also, Mike.
again, they are perfectly willing to have a functioning democracy so long as they are in charge of it.
i.e., killing the Voting Rights Act.
Which is and the reason the voting
It's
rights.
not democracy if you take away.
Exactly.
What,
It's not
but
democracy.
even if you want to look at, even if you want to go back to the Voting Rights Act, right? John Roberts has been looking for ways to get rid of the Voting Rights Act since the 80s. John Roberts specifically. And all they needed to do was figure out the right set of conditions to argue to get them to get a chance to do the thing they wanted to do, which was dismantle the Voting Rights Act. And this again ties back into your question about Black people voting, whether or not we should keep voting Democrat. The broader argument, or the broader, I guess, point behind dismantling the Voting Rights Act is ultimately limiting who can vote, just in general. Now they'll come up with all kinds of excuses. Why can't you vote with it? Why can't you get an ID to vote? I mean, everyone can get an ID. Why? What? Black people suddenly can't get IDs? And again, academically they can. Everybody can academically, and just function on paper, get an ID. But it comes down to the other little pieces of the mechanism. Okay, yes, you can get an ID, but to do that, you need a birth certificate, or you need, 2 pieces of mail, and you need all of these other things that themselves have, their own conditions to get. That then become, and it creates this cascade of little things that broadly make it harder. It's enough small little things that it seems fine, but when you add them all together, it becomes a problem. And this is largely championed by Republicans. You also notice that now that they don't have to reauthorize the Voting Rights Act, none of the Republicans did. As soon as it went away, the idea of standing up for voting rights, it doesn't exist, so we just don't have to do it. They wanted to find a reason as to get rid of it anyway, and now that they do, they have as much incentive as to keep it from coming back as they did for looking for ways to get rid of it. It furthers their agenda, which is ultimately limiting the amount of power, limiting the vote, limiting the
It's easier to roll with a minority than a majority.
well, because their path to power has always, at least since the 60s, included
I think DJ's muted.
Yeah, he
No,
is, but
he's-
he hasn't
stepped
saying
away.
anything. I just wanted to let y'all talk. I hope my audio is better than it
Mark,
was.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I want to give a little bit of.
Sounding crisp, brother.
I want to give a little bit
what
of
say you?
pushback on. I'm gonna say John Roberts,
Ow.
and no. I want to give a little bit of pushback on John Roberts
I wanted to hear Black Steel and DJ.
and the Supreme Court. Like, if you look at the 3 tiers of our federal government: Supreme Court, the presidency, and Congress. For me, Congress has been what's the word I'm looking for? Consistently over time giving away their power and their authority. The Supreme Court is really handcuffed if Congress were to write better laws, and a lot of folks in Congress have a legal or a law background, and how they get to Congress, or just folks who run for the House, run for the Senate. They write laws with a lot of ambiguity to give them flexibility, this, that, and the other. Like, when you listen to the oral arguments, and you listen to how the Supreme Court justices, when they query the prosecution and the defendants, like they're asking questions to tease out the legal stuff. If the laws were written better, and like John Roberts on certain issues has went against what his party wanted him to do because of how the laws were written, and he's like, look, it's written like this, I have to judge like this, and he has not backed off of his decisions. If Congress were to do a better job, Congress has let the office of the presidency accumulate more power historically since World War II. They really have. Like, Congress is not upholding their part of the three-tier system. And if you don't do your part and other people gain the power that you once had, they're less likely to give it back. They're not going to give it back.
Right. Again, we can point back to the Voting Rights Act.
Yep.
It
shouldn't have had a sunset. It shouldn't have had a sunset clause in it. That was stupid.
No, it shouldn't have. It should have just been the law. But like,
probably wasn't going to get passed with that one.
Yeah, again, to appease white people. like
said nope.
More so conservatives. That's
yes,
the other thing.
Like I said, more so conservatives, but the vast majority of the conservatives at the time were white people. Like it's and it still is.
Yeah. Going back to that original topic, though, we do know a lot of Black people voted conservative, right? Like a historically high amount.
How many? Yeah, but like as a percentage of our population, not really.
Yeah, what's your
Oh no, the way I heard it, like in the last election, Donald Trump got a historic for Republicans, the largest amount of Black voters like for any president ever. Some of that's population naturally. We got a large percentage of Hispanic voters and Asians too. I don't think he got all of them.
You need to listen to the last episode.
I was trying to segue so DJ could give his perspective too.
No, I'm just gonna say this real quick, and then DJ can segue. You need to listen.
You had your turn. I want to hear from Black Steel. I want to hear from DJ. I want to hear from I can't even hear Street Librarian anymore.
He's muted.
Still here. I'm muted.
Oh, sorry. I missed the sound of your voice.
I'm letting everybody speak. That's all. I'm being the host.
Sorry.
DJ, scenario, you up?
Yeah. What say you, DJ? Should, as the resident, I assume non-liberal thinker, what do you think that
as the only
that
DJ
that African Americans should divest from their allegiance to the Democratic Party?
I don't think we can. That's the problem. We can't.
Can you just repeat what you just said?
Yeah. Do you think, do you think that Black people, African Americans in this country, ADOS, should divest from the Democratic Party? We voted most times, we're largely Democrat, 80, 90% in most cases. There's an argument that says that in keeping allegiance to the Democratic Party, we're essentially not being held hostage, but we're taken for granted. Our votes taken for granted. So we may get all these things, or people may promise these things, the Democratic Party, but we never get them because they know they have our vote. So they know they have our vote. Should we consider divesting from the Democratic Party?
Yeah, I got it.
So why? What say you?
I say people vote whatever the party that most fits their values and ideologies. It doesn't matter. Myself, people may not believe it. Contrary to popular belief, I'm a registered Democrat.
Good. Sorry, good. At least you can participate in elections.
But that doesn't mean I will vote Democrat all the time.
Right.
That's on.
Yeah. I don't subscribe to, same way.
Yeah, I would vote. Did I vote for Barack Obama those times? Yes, I did. Did I vote for Trump? Yes, I did. Did I vote for Lamont? Yes, I did. And I think you got to go back. We got to go way back. Were we as a Black people, were we always Democrat? No, we weren't. We were Republicans. The people, if you're talking about Lincoln, the party of Lincoln, and all of them people who fought for to eliminate slavery, they weren't Democrats. If you're talking about people like the slave owners.
Black people were
Yeah, but the thing I hate about that argument, the thing I really hate about that argument is that it sort of assumes that the Republican Party during the Civil War is the exact same party that it is now. And that just functionally isn't the case.
I
Like it just
understand.
functionally isn't the case.
Okay.
So you have to at least, unfortunately, you have to instead of being tied to like the party, right? You must have to abstract and be like the conservatives of X era versus the liberals of X era. And at the time that you're referring to, in terms of the Republican Party at that time did fight against slavery, but that has largely shifted away. And while no one would certainly advocate slavery, what you now see is that the Republican Party does not function in a way that benefits the interests of the people at the lowest economic strata. I mean, like
they both have talking points. They both have a narrative. Both parties. I would say
right.
that the Democrat Party of today,
Democratic,
is not the Democrat Party.
Democratic Party. The Democratic Party.
I'd agree with
The
you on that.
Democratic Party.
No,
I would say that the Democratic
agree.
Party of today is not the Democratic Party of 40 years ago.
No, it is not. And even that that shift that we're talking about, like it actually came about in the 90s as a function of Bill Clinton leading the party in a more business friendly and ultimately rightward direction. That's when Democrats turned away from, staunchly advocating for labor unions, just expecting to get the labor vote, not advocating for it. That is when they turned towards the business sector. Yeah, no, it is. That's when they towards the business sector. That's when they started mirroring a lot of the Republican economic talking points at the sacrifice of Democratic social talking points, Democratic social efforts, right? Like,
wait, Mike, didn't it work though?
No, wait,
Clinton
hold
left
on a
office with a
second. We need
surplus.
to have a come to Jesus talk about the Democratic Party, because like if y'all don't see the pattern, okay, we got the black base that votes 90+% for Democrat. We turn away from them. We got labor. We turn away from them. We got education. We turn away from them.
Yeah, and they always turn towards money.
No, but why would somebody keep voting for somebody who's turning away from them in execution and intangible policies that benefit those folks just because of a historical thing? Like, why
There are
do you
no
keep
better
doing it?
alternatives.
Like, that's insanity. Like,
well, I mean, you just abstract. You said there's no better alternative. There is a number of people that
sometimes
are turning now. And matter of fact, and just recently in the AP or the Gallup poll, there are more. They did a poll, and 47% of Americans are going Republican, as opposed to 42 in the last year. A lot, and you always hear the phrase that they come up with, what is it, that I didn't leave my party left me.
I do like that sentiment.
You can now I like to ask this question. We have election coming up in 2022. We have 28 Democratic congressmen who decide not to run for re-election. Granted, probably 8 of them might be running for a higher office or
There's
something
a few
like
Republicans still, but go ahead.
Excuse me?
There's a few Republicans still, but God,
Yeah, but the numbers that we're going in with, we got a year, and there and people are dropping off more than one, like uh, every day. So if that's the case, and the reason, can anybody tell me why we have that? Why are we having so many Democrats when
ooh, pick me, Leon. Can
all
I
right,
do
go
it?
ahead,
Pick
go
me,
ahead, go
pick
ahead,
me.
go ahead,
Are you
go
picking
ahead.
me? Good.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Because
Alex, go
we
ahead.
do this every fucking year. Someone gets elected president. The other party stymies them so they can do fuck all. Then we blame that person who was elected president, rather than understanding that the reason this president, be it Obama, be it Trump, be it George Bush, I don't think that really happened for George Bush as much, but still, it's the same issue. We blame the person in power, not the people stymieing him. Even in this situation, most of the things Joe Biden wants to get passed, I actually really like. Not going to happen with this many Republicans. The issue, the discussion needs to be, how do we get more Senate seats? Not blaming the two motherfuckers who are stymieing him, or blaming Joe Biden for this, because I like the plan.
The
I
two
like these
Democrats
ideas.
that's timing him,
Yeah,
the two Democrats that's timing. Just
yeah.
saying.
I'm just
You
saying
just
we keep
I think they're just
blaming the person in
the one that
charge.
they're just the one that they know. Cinema and Manchin are just the ones that get all the publicity. When it comes down to changing the filibuster, there are more
Different
moderate
discussion.
Democrats that will vote that will vote against that. Changing
I'm
the
not a big
filibuster.
fan of changing the filibuster either. I can be debated one way or the other. I'm just
I
saying,
am.
I think we need to stop doing this thing of blaming the person in power without understanding why they can't get anything done.
No, I mean,
You got it.
I'm sorry, I got to get this one off my chest. I have
Go
to.
ahead, go ahead,
You
go
had
ahead.
Republicans who did not want to vote for infrastructure, who live in states where they have fuck all, fuck nothing, no widespread roads, no widespread energy grid. Their shit is crumbling, and not to mention all the jobs it can create. But no, Mitch McConnell literally told his people in Kentucky, and poor as fuck Kentucky, we're not going to do it.
That's
Fucking
right,
why?
Because he valued making Joe Biden and the Democrats lose more than he valued.
no, well, the
actually,
Republicans,
Exactly.
the Republicans have a more cohesive group than the Democrats. And even though the Democrats pitch that big tent BS, that when it comes down to it, it's the old guard that runs the party, and they really don't support the numbers that make up a significant portion or the preponderance of their base. They really don't.
I think the old
And that's what they do. Republicans, even when they have internal fighting, they pull it together for whatever the ideology is of their party.
Because they don't stand for anything.
I think both parties actually hate their base. But
it doesn't matter if they hate it, but it does. Like what I'm saying is, like, the Republicans may hate their base. I'm not going to say that they do, but they give their base something.
Yeah,
The
but
Democrats do
because
not
they want to
give,
stay in
like,
office.
That's what I was going to argue. They ultimately give their base something, and now, unfortunately, what they've been giving their bases is racial animus, and
I'm not saying I'm not
I-
saying that they're not, but I'm saying when the Democrats get in office, like Biden promised what, $15 an hour minimum wage. Where is it? He promised all this stuff, and he's not going to do it. And then he blamed the Progressive Party for him not accomplishing like what the stuff that he wants to do.
Well, let me ask you this: how long? What's the time limit? Like, what's the time limit on getting anything? Is it like?
I mean, it's over now.
Until he lose the House and Senate. That's the time.
Yeah,
Well,
basically.
right. Like, functionally, it's until he loses the House and Senate. Now we've got the House until the end of till November. The problem is everything dies in the Senate because any senator can filibuster any bill, and that is what they have been doing. And now,
See, you know what? No, wait, hold on a second.
Year,
I understand that argument, but put it this way. If the tables were turned and the Republicans, because they've been in this when Bush was in office, I believe, if my memory serves me correct, where it was like 50-50 in the Senate, and they had the House, he pushed through his whole agenda, but Bush Jr.
Up
Right,
and
because
He pushed
he
through.
was,
No. But how come the Democrats couldn't do it?
because there was,
because private interests.
No. There's private interest on the Republic. Like the context is still America.
but
It's
listen,
still America. The context
But-
doesn't change.
but the Democrats unfortunately are serving two masters, right?
Who's the
The
two masters?
well, one, they're all of the, the liberals, right? Or the what has been perceived as the liberals. So they have to keep black people give black people enough carrots to continue to vote for them. They have to give Hispanic people enough carrots to continue to vote for them. They have to give, increasingly limited
Freebie.
DJ, I can show you their other master. Are you ready? There it
Well,
is.
hold-
Hello,
No,
Yeah,
I don't-
like
I don't think
Aaron,
they're
Aaron,
serving
I was
two
actually
masters.
getting to that.
Sorry.
If they were
Actually
serving
getting
two
to that.
masters, we would be getting something. We're not.
But the problem is, like I said, they have two masters. Okay, put the shoe down. Put the giant 14 side,
15. Respect mine.
There's
you walking
lobbyists.
around with like fucking
The lobbyists, bro.
well,
I
yeah.
control my foot size and other things.
They on the one hand, they have to keep all of us, and again, they have to keep all of us non-white people happy enough
Yeah.
to keep voting
I
for
agree.
them. But at the same time, they have to do the same game that the Republicans do, which is say that they are doing their best to forward the interests of big business, various businesses, various banks, and those two things are ultimately in opposition.
And it's
Like
Black
voting
Steel.
rights does not help. Voting rights is less important than keeping the economy open, no matter what, right? Funding, and so when you are reliant on private money to get your job, but you need the people to get you over the line so that you keep your job, you have to ultimately make decisions. You have to make decisions of what you're going to do. So what do? You say you're going to cancel student debt, but then you go to the banks and be like, I'm not canceling student debt because one, I know you get money off of that, and it's $1 billion industry for the government. So they're just not going to do it. Whereas Republicans have a very easy game. All they have to do is distract the largely white voting base by telling them the gays are coming to ruin your marriage, and transgender athletes are coming to take your daughter's trophies away, and they're weird, right? The black people just want your money. The black people want your money in your job.
All I know is
Wait, hold on.
it's
Hold on,
Black
hold on.
Steel's turn.
And
It's Black Steel's
Hold on.
turn.
What were you gonna say,
It's
Sean?
Black Steel's turn.
Okay, there's like four people yelling.
Chaos. Jump in there, Howard.
There's four
DJ,
people
it's
yelling.
Black Steel's turn.
Let's
Sean.
Sean.
Freebie.
Let Sean
Run on
what-
their policy.
What say you, Sean?
All right.
Their policy is
So-
fair and freebie. But you hold up, you didn't let me finish.
DJ, it's Black Steel's turn.
Abstract. The infrastructure bill you mentioned that, and you mentioned how so many people were against it. What percentage of the infrastructure bill is allocated to infrastructure?
All
And how
of
much of
it.
it is earmarked?
Oh, DJ, I know what you're talking about. There are aspects of it that go for like pet projects that in New York and New Jersey. if I remember
Isn't that
correctly.
with
It's
everything?
just-
Go ahead,
That's
Sean. Say what
it's
you're
kind
gonna
of
say.
like
What percentage of the infrastructure bill actually goes towards infrastructure?
majority.
Dude,
No.
if you gotta
Also-
answer that question. You can't be asking us.
Why?
You gotta answer that question.
Sean,
Like,
please.
I
So,
can look up the bill and send it to you, but more so than that, I want to give Black Steel his turn because I'm an
Please.
asshole who talks a lot.
Let-
and I know it's his
Well,
turn.
to get to the
Sean's
point,
been very patient. Let him say something.
that's where the battles come in. That's where the battles come in with these bills. You got to look at the earmarks. And
DJ,
parties have a
Hold up, DJ. Hold up, DJ. Sean,
we'll come back to your
speak.
point.
Let's Sean.
Alright,
Let's Sean.
that's
Go
fine,
ahead.
DJ.
Go ahead, Sean.
So
What say you?
my DJ and I have talked about this offline over the weeks and months. My greatest frustration with the Democratic Party is messaging.
Yeah.
I think they have a poor, I don't know who in Biden's administration, the DNC, DCCC, I don't know who is running or helping deliver this message to the nation, but it's poor. And the example I can give is right now we have a supply chain issue, right? A lot of stuff that we use come overseas, right? And DJ can attest to this. I said to DJ, well, why don't the president talk about having these products made here in the United States, right? People can get, I know cost, but people can get around that. And this feeds off of this America First thing with Trump said. And like I said, I don't agree with him all the time, but there's some things that I agree with. If this is a supply chain issue, even if you don't even bring it to fruition, but just have the message that, look, let's talk about having some of these products made here.
Well, I actually heard
these
that.
computer chips.
The cobalt batteries for the cobalt for the electric batteries that they're trying to push for the new Green Deal.
Yeah.
Which we
I actually heard. Hold on. I actually heard that. I actually heard them talk about building stuff here. Even on the news today, talk about building more chips here today. But part of the problem is the media, what they pick and choose, what they want to put out there. I mean, if he talks about it, he could talk about it or he could not talk about it. But the media also choose what they want to pick up and put out there. The mainstream media, I should say. They run with shit that they don't need to run with. But I did hear before, it just maybe didn't get picked up more, but I did hear them talk about trying to build more products here. But the time it would take to get all of that stuff up, especially if the majority of it is being built outside of the US, it'll take longer for it to be built here than to get it here. You know what I mean?
But it's not.
Yeah,
It's
that
not
is.
just,
The
it's not-
dismantling
It's
of
not
the
about the time, it's about the labor and paying workers and workers with benefits, as opposed to in the United States, as opposed to like benefits in other places where they can get the labor for a whole lot cheaper. I mean, there's plenty of industries where it's easier for them to, like, even if we grow something here, we'll ship it to China to be processed, and then it'll come back here because they don't want to pay benefits to workers here to process it.
Right.
That's crazy.
But that's not a Biden.
I mean, it is, but
And-
it's also capitalism. Like,
yeah.
At what price? Yeah, but at what price? Because we're talking about really what is coming up. China is becoming our biggest adversary, and we're about to find out how much of an adversary China is once the Olympics over. You think he got problems with Ukraine and Russia?
China's always gonna spend the majority of its effort policing its own people, and China
China
has
their own people. They buying up everything in the world, bro.
Well, yeah, because it's money. Like then they're not gonna. We're not gonna go into like a Soviet style Cold War again with China. Like, we're just not.
But I agree with Mike. It is capitalism, because think about it. If any of us are selling something for $1 and we can get it in China for 20 cents, we're not going to pay 80 cents for it in the United States.
To be fair to that point, because we are talking about China, there is a lot more international pushback against China because of its shittier business practices and how they handled the pandemic. So might be turning a corner there, or it gets worse. Also, sorry for cutting you off so much, DJ. What was your original point?
I'm trying to I'm trying to remember. But
I believe you asked about the.
I got a question. Are European countries capitalists?
Yes.
They're a different type of capitalist, but yeah.
No, they're capitalists. But guess what? They put tariffs on stuff from other places.
Oh.
So to level the playing field. Why isn't that happening here? So
because
this is a certain kind of capitalism.
We
So
used to.
our
we
capitalism is in competition with our concept of democracy, and we haven't reconciled that.
Right.
In other
And
places,
what we're finding,
they have more of a balance. Go ahead, Mike.
we're correct, but what we are finding is that unfortunately, the reward system that is capitalism, how it feeds into democracy, has basically created a Congress that is clearly more interested in serving the interests of business than it is serving the interests of the people. You can look at, put your hands down, Aaron. You can look at you can look at you can look at the way Thatcher, essentially dismantled everything in England through the 70s and 80s. And now they still have some remnants, but they're having a lot of the same problems we are. And 30 years later, that led to Brexit, which is just put them right back into the original problem that they already had. What, Aaron? What?
Before we hop on too much, I do think we need to talk about what's going on in Europe, specifically Germany, in regards to what's going on to Ukraine and Russia.
But let DJ finish.
No, that is a tangent.
Flip to that.
It's the same issue we're having here, though. You're right. Go ahead, DJ. Continue your thought.
Yeah. Now I got, if y'all gonna, when we're talking about China is no doubt our biggest adversary. In a year, they're gonna surpass us economically. They already passed us militarily.
No, they haven't.
I don't think so.
No, they haven't. But no, they haven't.
They have more ships in the ocean.
No, they don't.
We have better
one of my best friends works for Northrop Grumman and is in charge of monitoring a lot of that stuff. We are not in competition with them in the military. Like we are not.
They have more ships. They definitely got more damn people. They got more.
There's a billion. There's 1.5. Like
China have
1.3.
Their military is equal to our population, but again, there's a billion people.
Population. What does that mean?
So there's
You mean the number of people?
The number of people in their military is like.
If there's a ground war, that matters.
Yes,
but there isn't gonna be.
Yes, it does.
But DJ, there isn't gonna be. DJ, there is not going to be.
I know, but you're saying people. I'm not even talking people. Do we have a hypersonic missile? Do the United States have a hypersonic missile? You know what? Because Russia got one, China got one, and North Korea just last week sent
we still have nukes.
I'm pretty
DJ,
sure
we still got nukes, so it's still.
Do you know how nukes work compared to a hypersonic missile with a nuclear head on it? Do you know what our
have
nukes
a string of allies that also have nukes in the area?
Hold up, our nukes got to go up into the atmosphere. Into the atmosphere. The hypersonic missiles travel at a lower altitude, and they can change directions. We have no defense against that.
All right,
they
before anybody else speaks,
want our money. Oh,
go ahead.
Before anybody speaks, China has the world's largest navy with 355 ships and counting, says the Pentagon. China has the biggest maritime force on the globe, with an inventory of about 355 vessels, according to the Defense Department. This is November 3rd, 2021.
Thank you.
Go ahead, DJ.
Okay, so not only that, so we already know they're buying up everything. They're buying up every rare mineral in the world. We're talking about going to the new Green Deal and converting to electric vehicles. We all know the major component. We know the major component to make that electric vehicle is the electric battery. You need cobalt to do that. We just sold in 2016, Hunter Biden somehow, don't ask me how he did it without the federal government getting involved, but his father was vice president at the time and stuff, arranged for the only company in Arkansas who had mining rights to cobalt in Africa to sell it to China. We went from being the only producer of electric batteries in the world to not having having access to nothing. So what happens when China is producing, we're producing all these electric vehicles. They're now talking about converting our federal force of vehicles, federal government vehicles, all to electric. They're talking about changing our military vehicles over to electric. What happens if we get into this Cold War and God forbid something worse, and we got to buy these things from China?
We'll innovate and find
Just
a
like
new
the medicine.
material.
Look in the chat. I posted something. Look in the chat. And it's
Yeah, I'm
been
looking at
happening
it
since
now.
about 2018 to 2019.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now. Let's see. Russia and China are joint military drills. I mean,
Yeah.
Who's that for? Who's that for?
With Iran too.
Yes, but who's that for? Who do you think they're practicing for?
Who are they practicing
who they're
for?
practicing for?
What do you mean?
Yes,
Who
if they're doing
practicing
joint,
for?
if they're doing joint military games together so that their armies work well together if they attack a common foe. Who's the common foe?
United
US.
States.
The West. The
There
West.
you go. Like
The West. Not only that, so if we're talking about how China economically, what they're doing, now we're still, you mentioned tariffs, we're still charging China this small amount of tariffs for imports because like other third world countries, India and other countries that we agree to pay allow to have these low tariffs for, we still have China down as like a developing country. Can anybody tell me, is China a developing country or are they an advanced country?
Depending on the
like
region.
that, bro. It's stuff China. Yo, if they change, if the money value, if the money, the reserve money notes, if it switched from the dollar, if it switched from the dollar over to what the denomination of China is, you think we having hard times now economically? Watch and see what happens. We so consumed with what's going on domestic, dealing with all this crazy stuff in the United States and fighting each other and being divisive with each other.
Yeah.
This administration ain't got no concentration on what's going on. In other words, watch when the Olympics is over and see what kind of trouble we be in when China done with this Olympics.
DJ, you're definitely right about us being so focused on our own internal domestic issues that we're failing to properly address issues globally. That aspect, I'm right there with you on. And yeah,
we're gonna be on
a bit of a problem.
Imagine we're all the stuff we're hearing about Ukraine and Russia. Imagine now that China's going into Taiwan. Now they decide to push their stuff and they decide, well, we want Taiwan.
They don't want to look like an aggressor to the other foreign powers.
With Russia and Ukraine has no what? How does Russia benefit us? I mean, Ukraine benefit us. How? Well, we ain't gonna send soldiers, are we?
I'm sorry, DJ. Say that last part again.
How is our involvement, other than they want to be a democracy? How does Ukraine interest benefits the United States, where
NATO,
we're on the verge of what some people say? I don't think it'll go to that World War III. Now imagine we're having all the troubles we're having with Ukraine, or the problems we're having with just Ukraine and Russia. Russia already got them surrounded. Belarus, once and Belarus is down with Russia. Once they get over there on the east side of Ukraine, there's nothing stopping it. What happens when China decide they're gonna flex their muscle and go after Taiwan? What happened when Iran want to flex their muscle and they want to?
I have two answers for you on both those accounts. China doesn't want to flat out invade Taiwan. They want to. What's preventing them from doing so right now is the international shitstorm that would create with their business partners with other countries. The thing is, what actually helps the United States globally is the fact that, hey, when push comes to shove, any problem in your country, we will be there. We have good relations with other countries because we let other countries do whatever the fuck they want.
You mean
more
NATO?
or less in their own borders.
You mean
yes.
NATO?
Yes.
You mean NATO? Europe is having, they haven't even committed to fighting
I
Russia
wanted to
if
bring
Russia
that
goes in.
up, but someone wouldn't let me about Germany.
Yeah,
Germany
Russia,
blocked them from I want to say they blocked
Germany
Ukraine
don't
from
even want to be
sending
involved.
guns over to, I forgot what country they blocked. They blocked some guns going over to Ukraine because what's best for Germany are the politicians that did this. Is just in their own personal best interests, not global best interests, not Germany's, not Ukraine's, their own.
Germany
For
doesn't even have a
politicians, it's an
military.
everybody issue.
Germany doesn't even have. They rely on us and NATO, and I guarantee you that
Got
little
money.
that oil line, Germany wants that bad. Through Russia, they want that bad.
Yeah, I agree. I heard about this.
Don't think they're gonna jump on the bandwagon if Russia invade Ukraine.
Well, I'll have to see what happens in the next couple of days. Todd, what is the next talking point?
I'm just listening to y'all. You two just talk, man. You two.
Oh, so
You political talking heads go.
fucked up is we literally are talking heads. That's all you can wait.
Literally, I was kind of
hi there. That
so
is my neck.
we kind of got driven off topic a little bit because my whole thing was thinking about Black people, well, Black Americans, and our allegiance to one party, and I'm kind of want to take it back there because what kind of got me thinking about this is a book out that it was written a couple this year by a guy named Charles Blow. It's called The Devil You Know, and it basically makes the argument that Black people, Americans, I think I mentioned before another time we spoke, that we should consider moving en masse to a particular area of the country, a state, a region, wherever, which would effectively, and us moving there collectively, enough of us that have voting power and money and what you call it, would give us some.
You mean the middle
clout.
class Blacks, right? Not the poor ones.
Well,
that's what you actually mean, right?
That is what I mean. That is what I mean. I mean voting people who can move, or even people who are poor.
I think they're moving.
Disagree.
But what I'm saying is that
they're moving already.
If okay, say let's give a perfect example. I think the example he stated was, say, South Carolina, and I'm probably getting it wrong, but he's saying,
let's say, example.
Well, I'm giving you an example.
No, Black folks
let him finish. Let him finish.
And how many Black governors have you seen from South Carolina?
Well, okay, but what I'm saying,
I know you got Claiborne, but how many Black governors? But
when I'm saying
a lot,
I'm just giving you an example. But let's say Montana
presidential elections.
Let's
the last time they voted Democrat.
Let's say Montana, which has a sparse. I think it's less people in Connecticut. What if collectively over 10-year period, 500,000 Black people move to Montana? Let's just say, how would that affect politics there? You know what I mean? Imagine having imagine having enough of us that live in a city, that live in a state where we can say, you know what, we want, certain amount of pay, and we want these issues. They'd have to engage us. Both parties would, not just Democrats, not just
South Dakota.
South
Dakota, tax-free state.
But the point, and I don't know how realistic it is, but I'm saying is that you think my thinking is the whole thinking of, well, I'll just vote Democrat because that's how my dad did, that's how my granddad did, that's how my great granddad did, because they're gonna help us out. They lead us to the promised land. That shit ain't working.
It doesn't work for anybody.
It doesn't work for anybody. Maybe.
I just say it's time to do something.
Maybe never get a chance.
Maybe the issue is time for us to be free agents and make people work to get our People do.
I said that all along,
all the time. Why not with us?
They'll get to South Dakota. They'll see that they can get a job. There's no state taxes. They'll see there's no crime. No, when you know what income. When I say comparison, of course, there's crime everywhere. You know what kind of crime I'm talking about.
Inequalities create conditions that cause crime.
Chicago, that night.
And there would have to be a lot of shit to change in North Dakota.
No, but I think that's easier said than done.
It is.
I think
Totally is.
No, I think that's easier said than done. Like lots of people would like to probably live in South Dakota, Vermont, but to get a property there, like you really have to be, especially in Vermont, you got to have
It's a
some money.
lifestyle change. Yeah.
No. I mean, you got to have some money to Vermont. People don't have to sell you their house. Like they see you, they don't have to. So you're gonna have to have a dummy corporation, or something. And how can we do that en masse? Like you understand what I'm saying?
But also, don't these states have their? I mean, it would have to be huge change in these states, i.e.,
yes,
South Dakota, because
isn't this what we're already doing?
I mean, if they
Texas,
only have
right?
2 electoral votes, like if they only have 2 electoral votes and a bunch of black folks move there, that ain't gonna change. You know, it would have to be a whole lot of stuff to change in the not just folks moving there, but in order to affect change across the board. You know what I mean? Like
there's a
million folks to move there, and it's still gonna have the same number of electoral votes. So what does that mean? Nothing. You know what I mean?
There's another issue with it,
population, that would change.
All right, but I don't think that. So I don't think anybody's brought up the fact, put it this way: if we started to move in mass numbers to any state, and let's just
like Texas or Georgia.
No. Let's pick swing states. Swing states that have been swing states for the last 20 years. All of a sudden, you're gonna see the thing that we talked about earlier, the cultural paradigm kick in, and both white folks on both Democrat and Republican sides, they will work together probably to pass laws to restrict folks moving in. That's just how this is still America. Like I don't see how anything.
I got a different. I have a completely different takeaway altogether. I don't. The thing is, if you have that ability to move or free migration or whatever the fuck, chances are that's also going to determine what type of voter you're probably going to be. You feel me? Let's say,
I agree.
Because again, you're really talking about the cats who have the chance to move.
No, but I mean,
middle-class blacks. Most middle-class blacks, some of them are going to have conservative values, meaning they're just going to be a part of that other group.
I agree 100%.
Democrats, same thing. It's not going to be that big difference because of the way we individually vote. All blacks don't vote Democrat. All blacks.
Okay, let's use history. Let's use history as an example. Colorado, Republican state. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when let's just say homelessness after soldiers and when we hit the tech bubble burst and all of that stuff, Colorado gave bus tickets to vagrants, this, that, and the other, to California, and overwhelmed because California was liberal, overwhelmed their social safety net. People, it's not like we can just do stuff without things being implemented to either slow down the process or compromise that whole plan. Sometimes you gotta tough it out where you are, and maybe we need to create something different besides Democrat and Republican, and be free agents on an election by election basis to turn the election to either party, the one that says they're going to work with us, and if they don't produce receipts after, before the next election, we're not going with you. We're going with the other party. We got to flex our power.
They're called independents.
Yes, I'm independent. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'll never join. Well, I do want to join the party of our governor, so I can vote against them in a primary, because I'm independent in this state. I can't vote in the primaries. I'm tempted.
Right.
A lot of this,
primary, man.
A lot of this too is the quality of the candidate. You know what I mean? Like a lot of how we vote is the quality of the candidate. And I'll take my state as an example. Youngkin got up and lied and scared white folks into thinking that everything was going to be about critical race theory and their kids were going to be guilted into all of this shit. So, and we had a crappy candidate in McCullough. So more folks voted for Youngkin than McCullough. And now what's going on? He's trying to institute I'm sorry, he's trying to say that there's no mask mandate for schools in the state. And he's trying to get rid of all of that. The rural counties or the conservative counties was like, okay, we'll do it. The counties up here in Northern Virginia where I live, all of them was like, F you, the kids are still wearing masks in the schools. If we had a better
Leon,
quality
are you in Virginia?
candidate, would you say?
Yeah, he
Are you in
is.
Virginia?
Yeah, he's in Virginia.
I'm Virginia.
So was
You heard about the thing that popped up in the news recently, like today?
The lady talking about bringing her gun.
Oh yeah,
Oh
I
yeah, the
saw
lady.
that.
They said,
Yeah, she's
'cause
she's a few counties over from me. But
Thank
again,
God.
if we had a better candidate than McCullough, Youngkin wouldn't be in there. But I mean, and
No,
you
when
can say
the race
whatever.
card to
he
win.
talked too much. He talked too much. Go ahead. Go
And
ahead.
it's not, yeah, that little sound bite, the sound bite got him out. And then folks didn't vote for him. But like the shit down here, like one governor, I can't even remember his name now. We have a car tax, property tax. They have property tax in Connecticut. He ran on the platform, I'm gonna eliminate the car tax. They voted for a dude overwhelmingly. When he got in, a Republican, when he got in, he was like, oh, if I take away the car tax, then there goes a lot of revenue coming into Virginia. So they cut it in half, but we still have a freaking car tax. So it's the quality of the candidate. If it was a candidate better than Hillary, Trump wouldn't have been up in there. You know what I mean? Because he didn't even win a popular vote in both elections.
But Leon, you gotta understand, I have dudes. I'm a woman. Vote for me because of arbitrary things, not my policies.
Aaron, don't go there.
Aaron,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
abstract, don't go there. But no,
I
was listening
hate
to
the
this.
marketing.
Wait, hold on. I was listening to this NPR podcast this morning. It's a locally based Connecticut one where we are, and they had this guy. I think he ran for office when he was like 18. He's 22 now. He's in the he's not going to run again. He served 2 terms. He was in the Connecticut
State
Senate. Yeah, and they had this caller call in, and the caller was just like dogging the system, saying it was corrupt because like there's how the laws are written to make it difficult for an independent candidate to run. And this 22-year-old politician gave the most pat political response to that question. And I was like, God damn, like the system, he's been trained. He gave the perfect political answer. It didn't matter which party he was at, but he gave the answer that he really didn't say something. He took points from the person's question and focused on those and just kind of morphed the whole thing. It was so beautiful.
The party narrative.
Yes, no, but it was so beautiful to see from like a 22-year-old person that's been in the system for 4 years of how they have just been transformed. And he said he ran because he was tired of older folks. He wanted more diversity, even though like he's not being diverse because he's a young white male and it's a bunch of older white males in the state Congress.
Legislature.
Yeah, in the state legislature. But he was tired of like the person that he beat had been representing the district for 20 years, and he wanted fresh voices, fresh ideas, blah, blah, blah. But it took 4 years for you to get morphed into the exact same thing. And I'm pretty sure if he would have continued to run, he probably would have won, but he wanted to I think he was going to law school. He'll probably go to law school, get his law degree, and then run for a bigger position and get in.
Yeah, it costs money to run for an election. And if we're talking on a federal level, you're going to have people who's going to do funding. And we all know Pelosi is the master at doing that. Then you got to if you're Speaker of the House, you the one select what committees people sit on. And if you want to get reelected, you got to bring something back to your constituents, back to your district. And so
DJ, you can
they
throw
can
Mitch
keep you in
McConnell in
there.
there
They can
too. If
keep
you're gonna
you in
throw
there or
Pelosi
they
in there,
can.
throw Mitch in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Kind of our
do,
system
the
Throw
door
works.
Mitch
swings
in
both
there.
ways.
Mitch
Door
is a
swings both
boss.
ways.
So you
Those
sometimes
two-
you got to go with what they tell you to go with, and
Which
everybody
means
loves to see the
nothing
worst
gets
person.
passed.
Johanna Hayes, can someone tell me something? I mean, but I know she's relatively new, but she got to roll with the flow.
Mhm.
There's nothing she can, she
Actually,
ain't gonna buck the system.
Teacher of the year. She was teacher of the year.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So she was teacher of the year.
Yeah, but she in
I
that
don't know
in
who
Congress,
was.
she ain't bucking the system. She ain't bucking the system
No,
at
it
all.
changes you. The
She
system
voting
changes you.
Yeah, you
she
can't.
voting
Yeah.
for party line.
Yeah.
I don't remember who was talking about it earlier, but they were talking about how basically Mitch don't really give a shit about Kentucky because a lot of the infrastructure. Yeah, okay, sorry, Aaron. Yeah, but because he don't, and Manchin doesn't either.
Manchin
Because
is
they
a
already,
multi-millionaire.
yeah, they're already independently wealthy. So when they're done, they're done. They can give a crap about their constituent as long as they're controlling the agenda.
Yeah, but y'all gotta admit, I mean, when we talk about voting rights and that whole thing and all the bills we're trying to pass, the Buy Back Better, and stuff like that, there are still we don't talk about like this administration coming up with solutions for crime, for infrastructure. Crime didn't even really come up in his last
Well, DJ, can I push back on that?
Access.
And I said,
Go ahead, Black
Cri-
Steel.
crime is local, and I think my friend Dave, Todd, Les, we talked about that, right? That needs to be addressed by the mayors, the councilmen, and the governors of those particular states.
Okay.
As far as crime goes, and DJ and I both agree on this no bail, no cash bail.
Yeah.
That I thought that was federal, but no, that's the local DAs and such implementing that. So as far as crime goes, I think that has to be dealt with on a local level. If it gets out of hand to where even Trump was like threatening to bring in the National Guard in Chicago, but I don't really think that has to be put on the president's, any president being blamed for, crime like that when that has to be dealt with on a local level.
I agree.
Hold your mayors accountable.
Can I
Hold your
push back
councilmen
against Steele just a little bit?
I think you got to look at crime. It's in a systematic way, in a big picture way, because crime gets framed as it's an individual choice of persons in a certain community, and it's more complex than that. There's socioeconomics. Is the police force in that town, that city, or that jurisdiction, are they fully staffed? Where I work, we're down 100 officers, and it's only like 13 recruits, and 30 folks gonna retire next month.
Was the budget?
How are they supposed to address crime when the force, when the force is down? What are the social needs of the community, where if there was more of a social safety net to help them meet their basic needs, maybe crime would be lessened.
Which
crime
is funny.
complex.
Guess who increased the police budget? Wait, DJ.
I'm not saying I'm not saying no. It's its own budget, but they're 100 officers down. The reason why they're 100 officers down is because the officers there, people leave and go to another jurisdiction, a town over, two towns over, and get a $20,000 to $30,000 pay increase. You're not going to be able to keep people.
No, and going back to what Alex was just saying, just about trying to solve the problem from jump. You know what I mean? Like the problems that make people not even want to commit crime. Start from there.
I have two things. I got two for that one. The infrastructure would be a creation of more jobs, which would again, hey, a choice in between stealing or getting a job. People are going to
Would
be more
those jobs
likely to
end up
steal.
in certain
There's jobs
communities?
available now.
I'm saying the
Nah, bruh.
availability
Go
of
ahead.
jobs, businesses deter crime. When places are very stagnant, not a lot of opportunities, not a lot of hiring prospects, people are more likely to go to crime. Also, fun anecdote. In the last presidential administration actually cut the police budget by $295. One of Joe Biden's main things he campaigned on and did was increasing the budget so they would get more money for training. Just these are all things that would play into the crime. You dig?
But then we got the
Training
local,
doesn't put
we got the-
officers boots on the ground.
It does increase for the better quality of officers, though. It's not nothing.
he can
Allegedly, if you've seen some of the trainings,
Taser.
Yeah, but
That's
if
fucked
the
up.
president can say
Right.
he's going to give whatever money,
He
but if
did.
the money come and all these municipalities, as we know, in the last year and a half, was defunding. The whole thing was defund the police. Then you're taking
They
away
did.
their
Very
immunity.
few
Then you're
municipalities
taking away
did
their
that.
immunity so they can be sued. They saying,
That
"Bump
didn't
this.
happen.
I'm going down here, down south, down here where they appreciate me." And there's a lot of police officers, a bunch of them that don't shoot black people.
I'm just saying, DJ.
There's a bunch of them that do.
You
Right about
the point
that.
being
Y'all know exactly what I'm talking
that
about.
I know
Yeah,
of,
there's a
I
bunch
haven't
of them that
seen-
do.
The percentage,
habitual.
doesn't even
DJ.
come close. You know that, Leon.
that
Say
I
that
know
again?
of. That I
Leon,
know of
you
for
know-
police
so you're-
departments.
Wait, well, hold on, hold on,
3
hold
did
on.
that. The
Wait,
rest
wait,
didn't.
Leon, what percentage of police officers shoot unarmed black men?
Bro,
Out of all
if you
the- out of
are you gonna
Maybe, wait,
first
hold on. I
off-
got a term. I got a
Go
term,
ahead.
Leon, for him.
go ahead?
Enough, dude. Too many.
But I'm
DJ is not wrong. It's a very small percentage. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not.
But per capita, are you kidding me?
What do you
I'm
mean?
not saying it
it's
doesn't happen.
still.
It's
It's
y'all
not as
talking
common
like
as
it's
it
one for
seems.
one.
This is a rabbit hole we shouldn't go down. I don't think
No, we
Yeah.
shouldn't.
it's
We
productive.
shouldn't.
I don't think
Nobody
it's going to solve anything. No one knows full statistics, and it's not going to solve anything. You know?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
What
not.
percentage of
It's not.
police
It's-
shooting unarmed citizens?
Let me just say this. My point is, I want proper policing in all communities. Period. Proper.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
That's my platform.
I think everybody can
Platform.
agree on that one.
So,
I do
okay,
think
It's.
I
I
do
did a
think
research. I did my last research paper on it, but go ahead, Streets.
I think that the bigger issue with crime is a local thing. I think it's very local. But in terms of infrastructure, that's been floating around for years. Trump could have gotten some infrastructure. Why did he
He
do
did.
that?
A lot of presidents
He
could
did.
have
He
got it.
got
Right.
to a water.
But
Correct.
that-
Hold on.
obviously-
Why didn't
but-
he? Because didn't he have control of the House and the Senate?
Didn't
I'm saying
Barack
he
have it
did.
too?
So did
I'm-
Obama.
Okay, a bunch of people.
Right.
A bunch of people.
President
had it.
Obama
Don't
got
just
shit
say-
done.
Don't just say Trump. Just don't say Trump.
But
but-
what did
Obama
Trump
got
get
it.
done other than in the background
The first CARE Act.
approve folks to the bench? What did he
the
get
tax-
accomplished?
The
tax
tax
bill,
cut. The
Which
first.
now
the
I
first
have to
step
pay
initiative.
taxes on every year.
Yeah, and then Congress is going to vote on it on whether we keep it or not, either this year or next. But yeah, the big things he did was the First Step Act, which changed a lot of federal guidelines for prisons. There was a water infrastructure bill. It wasn't as big as
Energy
Biden's
independence.
infrastructure bill, but it was passed. It was needed infrastructure. He did do stuff. We all know the negatives. I'm
Nobody's
just
saying no.
he did
Nobody's
do stuff.
saying that. Nobody's saying that.
My
nothing
argument,
happened.
what I was saying is that it's political gridlock. That's the reason why it hasn't happened. Every president that and I don't know how much Trump tried to do for infrastructure, but you could even now with Biden,
Water
it's
infrastructure.
gridlock that keeps it from going.
See, wait. Hold
Gridlock.
on. Hold on a second. Hold
It
on.
would pass. It would pass. It's just not getting to the people when the job ain't getting done.
No. Hold
Why is
on.
not
Let's
getting
see.
why is the job not getting done?
When Trump was in office, didn't they pass tax cuts that were indefinite for corporations, but they put a limit on it for individuals and families. Correct?
Yes.
So they get
Yeah.
stuff done for the people that they serve, to use a term that was used early in political parties serving their constituency. And like when you serve somebody, you produce for them. That's what that aspect of the Republican Party constituency wanted, and they got it. We get tax cuts in perpetuity. Everybody else, we got to vote on it every so often.
That's misinformation. The
I think what
Republicans, so the Republicans, what you're saying that the Republicans is the party that goes for corporations. That's what y'all saying?
No, I'm saying that
saying
that the corporations who they define as their constituency, they serve and they get stuff done. I'm saying the Democrats, who they say is their constituency, they don't get stuff done.
Big tech does it. They get it done it might help them out, but big tech, Zuckerberg and all of them, Zuckerberg and Google and all of them, they wasn't endorsing Trump.
They still
the richest people
got
in the world,
tax
Look at the campaign contributions.
Look at it. The richest people in the world was not endorsing Trump.
No,
Zuckerberg.
I said campaign contributions. What you say and what you give is two different things.
You giving different.
Wait. The richest people weren't endorsing Trump. Is that what you
gave
said?
a lot to the voting and making sure there are boxes, voting boxes.
No, wait. Let's go to the term. Let's go to the term endorse. And when you say endorse and you talk about tech companies, there's one word: algorithms. And look how the algorithms on Zuckerberg's platform worked for the Democrats and the Republicans.
Indubitably, exactly.
Man, all I know is the Trump tax cuts, if it did have any benefit for any of us, because it went from 7 brackets to 3, our tax cuts are temporary. If you're in the lower 2 brackets, Congress gets to vote on it in either this year or next year. Chances are our tax cut is going to get redone.
Inflation is a tax.
What I do know,
are you okay with
Black
that?
Steel, go ahead.
What I do know, and this, I know every household is different. From the time I've worked since I was 16 up until Obama's last day in office, I've never had to pay for my income tax. I've always gotten a refund. When I got married, me and my wife always got a refund. When Trump signed the tax bill in, we've owed every year since.
Every freaking year.
You know what it is?
Every freaking year.
He deferred something so that your bring home check would be a little bit bigger, but they get you back on when you got to pay taxes. And if you didn't put what he gave you back on your check, you got hit, and everybody felt it.
All those changes screwed me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I totally agree, Sean. I don't even expect. Maybe now that both my boys are in college and we can get a few credits here and there, but overall, I'm not getting a refund anytime soon.
I dread this time of the year.
I'm just trying to break even.
Wait.
I just don't want to pay no money.
I wait until the last day to do my taxes now, and I'm an accountant, and I still can't get around this shit.
Good point.
I'm still poor as fuck, so
inflation is a tax on everybody, rich, poor, middle class. That's a tax on everybody.
The other thing that has changed is what they call the SALT, state and local tax, certain things that you can no longer claim. Like, when you pay your car, like in Connecticut, Leon, you got your car tax, you can't claim that anymore.
Yeah.
Certain deductions for your house, you can't claim that anymore. So, a lot of
But
that.
isn't that a state?
Even down here in VA, Sean, even down here in VA, it's the same.
That's a state issue,
point
though,
correct.
right?
Is that a state issue?
Yeah, state.
Yeah, that's a
Because
state issue.
the S stands for.
It is, but in federal land, ever since those tax changes, I was done.
This is interesting because I've had some friends who are like making 3 times what I'm making, right? And they're all talking about, oh, Trump's great. I got an extra $1,000 back. I'll never get money back. I'm like, motherfucker, your family owns like a second home. Shut the fuck up. Sorry, I've been really salty with some of my friends lately.
Be right back.
Mike, you've been decidedly quiet. What's going on, Mike? Sugar? What's the
You
story?
might need to go back and re-listen to some of those podcasts we had and some of the stuff that me, Mike, and Ty said to you. Abstract. You weren't believing us.
So Mike drank some chamomile tea before he came on today.
Yeah,
It's-
Mike is holding back a lot of rage.
He's taking the melatonin.
No, if I wasn't taking melatonin, I'd have been asleep.
We told you this day will come, Abstract.
No, it's one of those things where like a lot of things get said and the subjects sort of jump around. And I gotta be honest, I got a little mad, so I just decided to shut the fuck up. Rather than can y'all still hear me? I moved the microphone.
Absolutely.
No,
You sound fine, man.
You're good. You're good. You need to text us that new microphone you got because it sounds dope.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's hold on. I'll text it. I'll put it in the chat. I don't want to.
Okay.
Is it a Blue Yeti?
It is not. It is hold on. It is a Logitech Blue Snowball.
The snowball. I've seen those. They're nice.
Does this look right?
It's called a what?
Product placement. Product placement. Product placement. You
Well, now we got to pay Mike money. Shit.
It's a big globe. And
Oh, that is cool.
Oh wow. Yeah.
please,
Please,
I like it.
send that. Put that in the chat.
okay. I like it a lot. My father, when I bought it, my father said, "Didn't I buy you headphones that had like a little microphone on them?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're in a box somewhere in here." And I just, but this I can put on my desk and kind of move it around. I'll be honest, I got a little mad, and I just decided that I would like be silent and calm down rather than try to fight with all of y'all.
Discuss.
Which I know is uncharacteristic of me. I am known for yelling and because we jumped around a whole bunch, like I don't know, like I don't know what to address at this point.
What are we talking about? Infrastructure, taxes, Africa,
Ukraine, China.
All right, can I throw this, Mike? Can I throw this question out to you and to everybody?
Yeah.
And
Me
DJ
specifically?
Well, no,
Yes.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Because DJ and I were talking about this off and on. Do you think the Democratic Party is a party of handouts?
No, I do not. I think we're all sort of victims of a multi-decade campaign to begin to believe that things are socialism that other countries just have as a function of being in government. The idea that Joe Biden got through an infrastructure bill to improve roads and bridges and trains and all that should just be a thing that a good and functioning government does. Like that shouldn't be an accomplishment. That should just like the idea that either party would hold up. I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring my voice down. The idea that either party would hold up the financial expenditure required to make sure that roads function in their own country simply for to use as a game to make sure that the other party either wins or loses.
Yeah,
should be enough to get everybody voted out.
I agree.
Just fundamentally, like the idea that we had to, on the one hand, propose trillions of dollars of infrastructure spending and then have to battle that to get whittled down, only to have that have to be passed through reconciliation, should be enough to get people sent home like immediately. Just
Mike,
yeah.
I may add, the only reason for that, Mike, is that for what we putting towards infrastructure, the amount of money in that bill that's going towards infrastructure,
yeah,
we just concentrated, and that's the problem with both parties.
Your microphone.
Low.
Send something through, and that's what Biden is having a problem with.
No, DJ, I can't.
Okay, say the whole thing again. We can't.
Send something that everybody agrees upon that's needed. We can't just pass a bill like that. We got to throw all these other little things where the bill is 6,000 pages long. Why can't we just, instead of doing all these investigations and all this, let's concentrate on infrastructure, pass it. Let's concentrate on voting rights, let's pass it. Instead of throwing all these earmarks into, that's where it gets messed up, Mike.
You know what? Here's the thing. I don't mind earmark spending. I think special interest in I think special carve outs for like very specific projects needs to happen. There are roads in West Virginia that have been crumbling for decades, and if you need an earmark to make sure that gets paid and funded for, fine, right? Because the infrastructure in every part of the country is equally important. And
I'm gonna give you an example.
Well,
Pelosi, her little park across the street from her mansion got $200 million for improvement.
Right.
We got parks here in Hartford that doesn't need to be in there. We got parks in Hartford. If you gave
poison pill argument.
Well, no, but even that, right? Even the idea that, you know, Park A in San Francisco gets $200 million, whereas Park B in I forget the area, but it's a
Hartford can't even get 100,000.
Right, and like
you're not just talking about Democrats with earmarks, are you? You're across the board, right?
No, I'm talking across the board. That's the problem.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear. You weren't just trying to throw Pelosi and the Democrats up in there.
I don't even know why you made that
Mike finish,
assumption.
DJ.
I don't know why you made that assumption. And we're going to let Mike finish talking. I don't know why you made that assumption. I'm just saying that's an example why we can't get things, because you throw all these little things in. Pelosi Park, I guarantee, is better than any 99.9% of any parks in the United States, and she get 200 million when we got a park right down the street, ain't got a basketball rim on it.
Well, Mike, go ahead, Mike.
Let Mike say it.
Please let me. DJ, when Paul Ryan
let Mike say it.
No, wait. When Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House, the exact same stuff happened. That's how politics in Washington works with the earmark.
I know.
Wait. No. But you can't single out Nancy Pelosi because she's the current one in.
That was an example.
Historic. That's historic.
That was it. Okay, that was. I know it goes on parties.
Go
ahead, Mike.
Go ahead.
We all agree. Okay. And I think we're getting a little bit brought into the weeds because of the examples we choose to pick. All examples are essentially cherry picked, which is why I tried to make that as broad an argument as possible. There are just things that happen in other countries that we should just have in America because we have the money, right? Okay, so I hate the fact that I am poor enough to qualify for state Medicaid. I'm on Husky, but the 18 days I spent in the hospital, if I had either not had insurance or had private insurance, would have bankrupted my family. I know that. And I have never had a problem with anything I needed on while being on Husky, and I think everybody should just be on Husky. And other countries have that. All of the countries in Europe have that. All of the countries in South America have that. The idea that we have to fight for what other countries have, and we can't have it because the perception is literally what everybody that we like to compare ourselves to, China has it. You know, the idea that we have to fight for the idea that going to the hospital should just be covered out of the taxes we pay is insane to me. The idea that public transportation was intentionally dismantled, and unfortunately, because of market forces, really needs to be rebuilt, but won't be because of other economic market factors.
Yeah.
In a country where,
I'm in the bathroom.
you know, needing a car is a requirement, but buying a car is so expensive. It's frustrating to me. The idea that and the idea that a party can choose to obstruct any effort to do anything about that because A, they don't want to let taxes go up for anything, or B, they just want to make sure that the other party loses, I think it's unconscionable. And I think that, to go back to way at the beginning, Black people would feel a lot less disinclined to vote Republican if Republicans weren't constantly looking for ways to screw us for their own empowerment. And I say that as a pretty liberal guy. You know, I'm not as liberal as a lot of my friends who are like, the government should own the means of production. I don't think the government needs to own the means of production, but I think most companies need to be worker co-ops. I think whomever is on the board of directors of a company, whoever is the, you know, stockholders or shareholders or the CEOs, like, the people who are in those need to, some portion, and I don't mean like a small portion, I mean like a third of the people that come from that need to be workers. Like in Germany, like the CEOs of a company, or the board of directors of a company, half of those boards are made of people who work in the factories. And maybe it rotates every couple of years, but like the voice of the worker is also respected and listened to when it comes to making actual business decisions. The reason we're talking about the reason we're talking about going back to bringing back manufacturing to America is because in the 70s and 80s and in the 90s, a group of people who don't work in the factories and don't work on the production side of the company, but really only make money based on how well the company does, decided that it would be a good idea to move labor over to
China
and like it happened for decades, and it happened with people from both sides. And why is that? Because we have incentivized the capitalist interest over the actual functional everyday economic interest of the country.
I think you need to add, like in other countries, the delta from what the CEO earns to what the lowest paid worker earn is a whole lot less.
There's a whole lot less
abroad than it is in America. I mean, you could, like, I don't think they necessarily
with the exception of the
have to, like, you need all the folks working, but like in other countries, it's more, if you're the CEO, it's more of a status thing, not a financial windfall.
With the exception of the oligarchs, with the exception of the people in those countries. And Mike, I understand what you're saying, Mike. If you're talking about universal health care, those countries like Switzerland and stuff, or those countries who allow for universal health care.
I'm not talking about Switzerland. I'm talking about.
They pay a lot in taxes. They pay a lot in taxes, and you know what they get? They get the ability to, they get well-funded infrastructure, you know, and I mean well-funded bridges, well-funded rail systems, and expensive. I'm not done. And put transit systems. They get the ability to send their kids to college without encouraging those children to go into debt to go to school. Okay, like they get to know that when you have a kid, you don't have to pay $20,000 simply to
an
have
apartment the size of your bedroom.
All right, DJ.
No, if we have an apartment the size of the bedroom,
hold on a second, abstract. DJ, I'm gonna need you to hold your head together, because your head.
You gotta stop cutting me off.
And DJ, I say that as an architect. More people having smaller houses is actually okay. It is actually okay. I don't think we all need the amount of space that we all have, because all we do is fill our houses with shit we don't need that our kids end up having to throw away when we all die. All we have to do is set ourselves up with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt in the form of mortgages that we don't get to pay off. And the idea of maintaining our houses and making sure that those property values are maintained, and this is a tangential subject, but I know a lot about it, keep people my age who are already stuck with debt from being able to buy houses. Aaron and I have less of a chance of buying the house you're in than you did at our age. And it is a function. It is not a function of the tax burden. It is a function of the commoditization and financialization of housing. Your house is not a bank. Your house is a house. And it's okay that we have to pay taxes, because I'll tell you something. In countries where they give a shit about public housing, and I'm not talking about England, I'm talking about like Denmark and Norway and a lot of even in Germany, those public houses are actually fairly decent. The public housing situation in a lot of those European countries would be luxury housing, luxury private housing in America. And if we have to use our tax dollars to do that, then fucking fine. I am not afraid of taxes. You can't take it with you.
Did you know
small countries,
in Nordic countries, did you know in Nordic countries that folks get over 18 get like a sort of like an annual stipend or an annual salary just for existing?
In other countries, people get 30 days of fucking vacation.
Absolutely.
They just
small
get
countries,
it.
and small
I'm talking
countries
about.
You can. No, let me say, in small countries you can do that. There's a saying that, especially when it comes down to socialism, sooner or later you run out of others people money. Because it gets to a point. Let's even take what's going on recently. Sooner or later,
my God, in capitalism,
didn't we just talk about China?
All we have is a pie that almost gets bigger, and four people have all of it, and the rest of us have to somehow divide the 5% of the rest of the pie. And it doesn't matter how big the pie gets, the 5% never stays the same. Okay, no, neither system is fucking.
It's okay. Mike,
neither system is working like solely. At least in a more socially aligned economy, funding, the money that is taken into the government isn't funneled right back out to hyper wealthy people in the form of tax cuts. It's reinvested into the country in a form of healthcare spending, educational spending, transportation spending, general infrastructure spending. At least we get something for all of the money you people with houses are bitching about. We aren't getting enough for the amount of taxes we pay. And just saying socialism is bad doesn't make that different. Okay? Capitalism has fucked us. Okay,
Connecticut. United
States. Can I talk as the other fourth person, please?
Go ahead, Aaron. Go ahead.
The original thing I said earlier was this: by reinvesting the money, the general quality of life for everyone is improved. The Republican way of thinking about things is so very narrow. What keeps happening is you keep your money, but it gets smaller and smaller very slowly, and the overall quality of life around you gets lower and lower. What Mike is actually talking about is reinvesting it, which increases the quality of life of everyone, including you. You'll have more accesses, more chances to make money. And
even your issue with crime would go down, right? Because if people had more access to education, fewer people would have, people who have more access to education have more access to higher paying jobs. And then are less inclined to go to crime.
Wait, hold on a second.
When you say access to education, what do you mean, Mike?
Now hold on a second.
Mean,
in the world, we have.
Oh, I can answer that question for you, DJ. Here's how it works. Your property value determines the amount of funding in your school. If your school is in a poor area or was districted just to include poor areas, your school has less funding, less access to teachers, less money to bargain to get higher quality teachers, less paraprofessionals. Off rip, if you're growing up in a poor area, like my family did, your quality of education is much, much, much lower.
I even noticed it growing up in Branford when we would go out to Madison and Guilford, which are both towns with higher relative values. Like,
I know Madison.
I was saying education.
It's a nice school.
I was saying education. That depends, because you can be in a poor rural area and still be a lot better than an urban area because the staff
Talking
that you
straight
can
urban.
attract and the what
Staff and
call it.
popular, like
So-
there are a
Yeah.
lot of factors, right? Because there's a
So
confluence.
why
of,
can't we put the money into
Wait, no,
education?
hold on a second.
Because we
I
have
wanna-
other social needs
I-
and social net.
let me make
I
this
will
Maybe
tell
less
you.
spending.
DJ,
Wait,
I
hold
will
on a
tell
second.
you.
Let me make.
DJ,
let
I
me
will
make this
tell you.
point.
Every year we cut taxes, and the money has to come from somewhere.
And it's education.
And it's always coming
The
from
military.
education. Like, and in education, where does it come out of first? Where does it come out of first? It comes
Urban
out of the
areas.
arts programs. It comes out of it comes out of music. It comes out of athletics,
Sports.
but not the sports. The actual just training and health,
Well,
right?
it comes out of
Then what
sports
they've
too.
cut off. Sorry,
No, it comes out of sports at the middle school and the elementary level.
right?
Whereas in other communities, they have those things. But
Why do you think the cost of college has increased like 40% since 1980? It's because we keep cutting taxes, and to make up for that, money like the subsidies that used to go to schools to keep that cost low now gets replaced by loans, and that's why it's more expensive.
Well, let me make this point. I want to see what y'all think. Like in the world, we got two. It's kind of interesting because we got two examples of two countries, China and the U.S. And China has been described as a governmentally socialist country, but a capitalist economic system. In America, we got a democratic system that's based and an economic system of capitalism. America's been the incumbent. China is up and coming. And it's interesting to kind of see the parallels and to kind of see how is this going to end up, say, 100 years from now? Which system is going to be dominant? I mean, granted, America had more of a head start on the capitalism aspect, but the socialist government.
Right now, I think China.
I mean,
I feel like that's a separate issue, man.
I don't think China's socialist. I think
I
it's
agree,
a totalitarian state. But they definitely have a direct. They don't have a free market. They have a government directed.
Give up a lot of your freedom.
Oh, there's another
Personal as
problem
well.
with. There's
No, I
another
mean,
problem
China's
with being like
China's a communist government. I mean, yes, it's total. I mean,
And
they recently said that what's his name could be elected, whatchamacallit, for the year, but like political systems change. Like
right. But also when you go to China, I'm telling you, they have high-speed rail. You know, they have.
No, I know, I know, but I'm just saying
they
like,
have new subways that
so
are clean.
But the thing is, we talk about capitalism like it's exclusively a U.S. Thing and trademark. We got capitalism in Europe.
There's no perfect system.
In China, but we got different forms of government that are I don't want to say regulating capitalism, that are having a balance. That's a good word. Having a balance with capitalism. And it's not necessarily the economic system, but the way our politics in our country go, we're told solely to look at the economic system and not necessarily the governance behind the system. So let's just say in the extremes, we have America on one part of the continuum, we have China on the other part of the continuum. In Europe is probably some of the countries in Europe are probably somewhere in between. I'm not saying that any one of them are necessarily better, right, wrong, this, that, or the other, but there's something to be learned, but we're not trying to learn from the different variations of these systems that we have. We're just trying to say that this one is better, and we should try to crush and do whatever to all the other systems. Which is
our Constitution.
It's all things in balance. No, this is kind of the problem. Going too far in one direction often leads to problems. I don't want to live in a totalitarian state. I don't want to go fully socialist, whatever the fuck. I also don't want to go into a full capitalist state, because in which case, no free education, no firefighters, no police, no reinvesting in infrastructure, unless you have money, which, as Mike was trying to demonstrate about the two of us, we don't. I am the richest person in 3 generations of my family, and I'm still below the poverty line. Extremely. Part of the reason, you see me like really focusing on like pushing myself forward, trying to get a house, trying to do all this crazy shit. It's because I've lived in the conditions Mike is describing. like full stop. I'm not going to go into full details about it, but a little bit more in the reinvestment in society would have been very beneficial. The poverty, but living below the poverty line, it got to a point where I realized, like, oh, this is what was supposed to happen. The crimes, the shootings, all the friends I know that have been dead or in prison. Of course that happened. It is a symptom and a function of living below the poverty line. The only place we could get a place to live was next to crack houses and trap houses. Such fun to raise children around. Man, I wish it wasn't so hard to social mobilize and get above the poverty line. You reinvest so other people can move up, so the general quality of life is better for everyone. I get that people are concerned about their own personal interests. I get that. But overall, there's going to be a new generation. Your kids may not have the same opportunities that you have. Hell, off rip, most of you guys are older than me. The amount of money that you guys are getting paid way back when, or your parents are getting paid, is not what you're getting paid now. It's harder now, meaning it's harder for people to move up. That has a big societal effect. There won't be a good new generation to come and take these jobs or take up these positions afterwards, because we're not building that in right now.
Right.
Also, DJ, to your point about medical insurance in regards to other countries in Europe, try to understand this. Rather than going to the doctor here, people just sit and they don't go. The leading cause of bankruptcy right now in America is medical insurance. We have people literally choosing not to go to the doctors because they cannot afford to go, because they technically make too much money, versus they could just go, meaning they could be alive, meaning they could keep producing taxes. We would actually be saving money by keeping people alive. You dig?
So, I mean,
Aaron,
if you want to speak about the medical situation and some of those countries that y'all mentioned that provide all this collective sharing and stuff, if we can talk about the medical and how whether
they live longer.
if you have a serious condition that need to be addressed, how quickly that can be addressed and who makes the determination. But I want to go back.
I know what you mean, man.
I want to go back to the China thing. Everybody, 1.2 billion people or whoever, how much they have. That the way they run things is probably going to surpass the U.S. because you have an oligarchy. Them oligarchy people are rich, cheap. Everything, they can come and take anything you have. They have this guy who's in jail now, disappeared, a millionaire who was fighting against, them taking over Taiwan and stuff like that. He just disappeared. The tennis person disappeared until people made a big stink about it, and she showed up. That kind of stuff happens too.
Right. And that's
hold on a second. Aaron, I want to respond to something you said. I get it. I'm proud of you that you are, the person that's more economically sound in your family in like 3 or 4 generations. When you compare my father's salary, buying power, growing up in the industry, in the waning stages of the industrial part of the U.S., his salary, his economic buying power, and you factor in inflation, I earn less than my father. I'm more educated than my father. Like, it hurts. It hurts. Like, it's a hard thing. Does that make me a failure? Like,
no.
No,
but
hope
no,
you didn't
but
think
no,
that's
but
what I meant.
no, I'm
That's
saying,
not what I meant at all.
I'm saying economically, and this, I'm where my father wanted me to be. Like, he didn't want me working in a factory like he did, this, that, and the other. My uncles, my aunts that all worked in factories, they didn't want this because they saw this as a better a better life, a
What?
better
What?
situation.
Going to
But
college?
economically,
Going to
I
college
have
was better.
no. That's what they thought. It was an easier
Yeah,
job
because
because it
that's
wasn't physical
overrated.
labor. Yeah, no, it
Overrated.
wasn't physical labor, this, that, and the other. But what I'm saying is I have less buying power when you factor in the rate of inflation, the value of a dollar, this, that, and the other than my father had in his day.
Oh yeah.
That shit hurts.
Oh yeah.
That shit hurts.
I hope
Oh,
everyone understands that I do understand that everyone is feeling the squeeze. Like, conditions are not great for most Americans. I'm very much aware of that. It's just, it can be like pulling your teeth, maddening that we have to do things like discuss increasing the minimum wage or even reinvesting in people so, you know, their dollar goes for more. And the thing that keeps puzzling stop is, if Allah just had more money, he could probably buy more shit, which is also good for the economy, which would also result in, you know, the people who own the shit that he would buy or the
It's
shit he
not.
would invest,
It's not
that
that.
would still help.
It goes
not
back
necessarily
to
about buying.
the cultural thing. Like when, like in our generation, we were raised and or parents, every parent wanted their kids to have more and do better than what they did. And like our generation,
God, that
is the
sounds
first.
nice.
No, it does. And no, I'm glad. No, Aaron, I'm glad that you have achieved it. But what I'm saying is for folks like a street librarian, and I don't know too much. I don't know the backgrounds of Black Steel, Leon, this, that, and the other. I compare to their parents. It's hard when that promise was made, and yes, like salary wise. No, honestly, I'm not making more than my father made on a good year in his salary 30 years ago when he was working overtime in the factory. And then you factor in inflation like this, that, and the other, like it's insane. Like,
is it the stick
that hurts?
Is it the stigma that we put that everybody's gotta, like, you go on Facebook, everybody's gotta have this big house. They gotta have three cars. They gotta. I live a simple life, bruh.
No. It's no.
And
It's
Sean
not
will tell you. I grew up, and
no,
I make a good living. I have
the
three
big
pensions.
house and the flashiness. Like they wanted us to have more and be better. And when you look at the stuff, but granted, they wanted me to go to school and get an education. Thank God I did. But like when I sit back and I'm able to analyze it, and when I'm able to compare and see what his dollar was able to buy versus what my dollar is able to buy, he had more.
Yeah, I was going to cut in and agree with you, just that you know, it used to be, say if you go back, say the 1950s after the World War II, a single one worker family could buy a home and support a family. Our parents' generation.
Oh yeah, have two cars.
To do that. And maybe have two cars, one, maybe two cars, but it wasn't a bit, but it was a luxury. But look at it now. You know, I work, my wife works. We have to, you know what I mean? If we want to have the things that we want for our children to have, you know, it's that much harder. And I get both with Alex's and Abstract are saying that, like, it's, you know, yeah, I make more money than that my mother made in her life, but comparatively, I have more debt. You know what I mean? I have more responsibility.
And that's the thing.
And that's a factor of, and that's not necessarily a factor of me being, you know, having more stuff. Yeah, it probably does add into the equation, but also as the fact that my money doesn't go as far. It costs way more money to buy a home. College is more expensive. Everything, you know, everything is way more expensive.
And
I mean, you're absolutely right, dude. You're absolutely right, dude.
Our peers, our society, especially when it comes to people of color. When it comes to people of color, I don't know. There's a prestige things, and you see it on Facebook all the time. You got to have, or you fake you have it, and stuff like that. You know,
that's a nice gold chain,
I'm
DJ.
not related to people of color. It's the value.
That's American. That's American. That's capitalism.
Yeah,
that's capitalism.
But I'm
got my $5 beat necklace.
But we lose
attaining stuff.
We lose track of where we came from. Like I grew up in the projects and stuff, And I'm retired. I recently retired. I got 3 pensions. I'm receiving Social Security at 62. I live in an apartment.
Nice.
I live in an apartment and stuff. And
but hold on.
could I
But
buy a
that's
house?
you,
Could I
though.
buy a house? Could I buy a house anytime I want?
Man,
But I feel like
nice.
I feel like I'm transient. I'm gonna, I'm gonna probably go and move down to Florida. So state of Connecticut don't tax me to death
So
and
you
stuff.
don't invest the
I
money
made
for the
sure
next
my bills.
generation.
Yeah, I made sure my bills is. I made sure all my loans and my student loans, everything paid off. I took care of that. I had the foresight to take care of that a long time ago. So all I had to live off of.
What do you mean by we lost where we came from?
When we lost.
Yeah, explain that. I'm trying to get an idea of what you mean.
Yeah,
because like
let him explain.
We like when you're talking about when you talking about when what your parents had, there's this stigma that you have to either have or fake like you have something, and you get it by any means necessary. Sometimes it come into capitalism, and creating little things of being a influencer on Facebook, whatever, and stuff. You do what you want to do. I think it's more simple than that. We have to teach our children that you don't have to be rich. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses.
No, all the stuff
Content.
you're saying, all the stuff you're
You
saying is how my
content.
parents.
You
No,
just
all the
gotta be
stuff you're
content.
saying is how my parents raised me. They didn't raise me to be flashy, and I spent lots of time at Todd's house. Like Todd's house, my house. Like we're just taking care of our family, trying to provide them with the best that we can with what we have. Not Todd don't compete with the Jones.
And I'm not saying you, brother.
Hold on a second.
I'm not saying you.
No. But I don't compete. I don't compete with the Joneses. Like I hear all the time from folks that I know, the type of people that you are describing that say I should have X, Y, and Z because of what they think that I make, this, that, and the other. That's not me. That's not what I want.
Yeah, and I
need a car that get me from A to B. Brother. I don't need nothing flashy. I just need to be able to get to work, take care of my family, and do whatever the hell I need to do. I'm not trying to lease a car and have more cars just because it's a flashier so that I can high sign for other folks. Not doing it.
I understand, and I wasn't singling you out, brother.
I said in general, the grave and smack the bejeebers out of me.
These young kids that don't want to graduate from high school, rather be on a corner and have money in their pocket doing what they do, or out here stealing cars and stuff, than having to work for what they and wait for to get, because I'm just now experiencing the fruit of my work. I'm just now. I put in 30, 40 years to be able to be where I am. I sacrificed some of the things, and Sean can tell you I got some things, but I spent 33 years in the military. I work at Eastern Connecticut State University. I work at the Department of Social Service. I earned Social Security. I'm just reaping the benefits of what I did. Now, when I talk to these kids and I say, look, you ain't got it. You don't need to get it right now. Crawl before you walk.
Exactly.
Prepare yourself.
Yeah, but when you get old, so when you're older, if you're like, okay, you doing what you're doing, you're living in an apartment, you're doing what you're doing, you're not being flashy or whatever. But if you buy that's your individual choice. You know what I mean? That's your choice. Like if I buy something right now, because I'm not being flashy, or I'm not because I buy something that costs more, I'm not being flashy. Maybe I just want something better.
You know what I mean? I got a Corvette. I know, but I waited and I worked for it though. I waited what, 50 something years to get it.
But I mean, if you was 30, you could have
like
I mean, what if you were 30 and you could have got
car person?
You know what I mean?
It used to be. It sort of is. Depends.
I mean, if you were 30 and you could have got it, you would have got it.
But what kind of debt would I be in, and then how would
but
would I
I'm
be
saying
living?
if you
Would I
weren't
be,
in
would I
debt,
be
if you weren't in debt, if you were just doing well at 30, I think that's fine to get whatever the hell you want to get.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna get that car and go into debt because
DJ,
they gave me a credit card.
You're
No.
implying that
What I'm
everyone is
saying is,
suffering and
okay, let
fucked
me
up
give
by
you an
their own
example.
personal
Wait,
Let me give you an
Go
example.
Leon. Go Leon speak.
If okay, I'll use headphones as an example. We all have headphones. We could have bought headphones for $20, but we pay $200 for headphones because those are the better headphones. We can afford it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can get better things without being flashy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can if we're not. I don't think if even if you could buy your kids clothes, you can buy your kids polo clothes. You can buy clothes from Walmart. If you buy your kids polo, that doesn't mean you are showing them a different way or a different like you're not being flashy by buying your kids polo. Maybe you just want to buy your kids polo. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that because I do that. I'm just saying that you can get better items and not be flashy if you can afford it. I'm not talking about going into crazy debt. You know what I mean? But you can get, I don't think there's a problem. And I also think that people who are flash, I think that's a smaller segment of people. I grew up, I was born in Hartford and my parents moved to Windsor when I was what, 8 or 9. So it wasn't like I wasn't rich and I wasn't poor. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was just the way. And I'll use Todd as an example of not being flashy. When we were younger, we used to go over Todd's house. Todd had a hi-fi VCR and he had it hooked up to speakers. It was dope. None of us had that, but Todd had it, and we went over his house to watch Beach Street umpteen times because he had a sound system that was dope. We didn't think Todd was being flashy by having a hi-fi VCR at the time. We just thought Todd had something good that we can come and listen to and be a part of. I never once thought Todd was being flashy because he had that. So, and this was when we were in like high school or elementary school. So it varies on the it varies.
You missed
the
other part.
Leon, I digitized the Jay Caesar and some of y'all videos back in the day.
Oh yeah,
you missed the other part that I said.
Leon's not in there, but I know what you mean.
This other part I said. The other part I said was that this new generation are so impatient. They don't want to work. Like I'm 16 years old. Man, I can't work at McDonald's. I can't work at McDonald's.
Most people in that generation are working. A lot of us are. Even if you're talking either Gen Z or millennials, they are working. Most of us.
But some of us, even in that respect, some of us are to blame because if we're giving our kids more than what we had, they don't necessarily have to do certain things.
There's
you know
no
what
incentive.
I mean?
There's no incentive to go for more. Yeah.
Exactly. I was delivering papers when I was 12. My parents didn't
when I was 10, I was delivering papers.
Yeah, so I moved up and moved up. I've been working since then. But my kids don't like now, my kid is in school, he's in college. Like he doesn't have to work. Like I would prefer him not to work so he can get better grades. But that's because we can do that. You know, and again, we ain't super rich or we're not even close.
Right.
But it's what we provide. It's not all of the kids who like some of the kids who like, I don't want to work, I don't want to do this. Part of it that is the parents too.
That kind of goes back to what I said. Like my parents did way more for me that they didn't do because where they grew up, like working on the farm, this, that, and the other. They did way more work and chores than what I did. I mean, I think some of that is sort of, I don't want to say the natural progression, but as you achieve things and for that moment in time, if you're a little bit further along than where your parents were, your kids are actually going to do a little bit less than what you did. And I think that's just typical.
I just don't feel like dunking on people.
I remember when we lived on in Windsor, White Rock Drive. I said to my dad, I said, Dad, I want a car. And you know what he said to me? He goes, well, how much money you got? He said, how much money you got? I said, I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing. He goes, you must not want a car then.
Right? Know? Exactly. That's old school, nigga.
That taught me a valuable lesson. That's when I got my job at Greenfield at the grocery store.
That's
because
old
my
school.
father taught me.
I had to teach myself that lesson.
That's old school. Go ahead.
Sister,
no, I saved up all my money and bought my cars. No one
my
gave
sister
me
says
shit.
all the time, when you getting your son, he's 16 now, he should have a car. And then I always hit her back. I walk 2 miles each way in the hot southern
uphill
sun to work at
work
at a fast food place to buy
when I was going to school, man,
old car that he didn't want and drive it cross country for me. Like, look, I ain't giving him nothing at all. Like, if I had to walk in the hot southern sun 2 miles, hit 3 7-Elevens and get a, at the time I think Big Gulf was like anywhere from 50 to 75 cents and slurp down the soda.
Yo, they picking up kids at their doorstop. They picking up kids on a bus or at their doorstop right now. When I was coming up, man, we had to come home for lunch and it's snowing.
Yeah, man.
And go back to school.
It's times. I mean, even like here, I was surprised one year where they closed school for my kids.
Oh my God.
Because it was too cold. I mean, because it was too cold. They closed, but
oh my God.
But we live in the big, like in Windsor, everything was like, up there it's by town, I guess. It's Windsor, it's Hartford, it's Bloomfield. Like here, it's by county. So I'm wondering why they closing school, like for my kids, and it's cold, but and our county is huge. Like it could take me an hour and a half to go from one county to the next. And Mike knows because Mike knows this area. Manassas, so he knows.
Mike, hold your pen up to the screen real quick. To the right. Other side, this way. Just spread it to one of the edges on your left. There we go. All right, almost. Wait. Yeah, almost. Come on. Fighting his weed.
Making a blood joke. It's all right.
I knew I wasn't saying, but the way he was flicking it around. These rural areas, they're the ones who had to walk to school, and rural areas in my county, they had to walk to school, so they didn't want the kids to do that. But I mean, it's just times have changed. All of it is just different. Yeah. Like even going back to what you were saying, Rod, like about just what we make and what our parents make. My parents the house they bought in Windsor, they bought it in 79 for 80 grand, brand new, 3/4 of an acre. Here, like I live in
that's like a couple million
townhouse in the suburb of DC. I could a 1/4 of an acre house, or 3/4 of an acre house where I live is $1 million. $1 million. I couldn't afford that. You know what I mean? So it obviously it's different. It's different because I'm in a suburb of DC versus Windsor, Connecticut. But still, even like a 1/2 an acre, 1/4 of an acre, 1/4 of an acre is 700 grand. You know what I mean? So it is. You're right about. But I may make more than my dad, but I don't make more than my dad. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know.
It doesn't go as far. I mean,
no, not at all. Not at all.
No, because the housing market
more than my parents.
The housing market, the value of houses for what they're worth.
You know what?
The 70s have like going up like 10 or maybe 15 times.
Yep.
Like it's insane.
Gas was what, 20 something cent? Gas was 20 something cent in the 70s.
Everything's going up. And you also add in childcare, taking care of kids.
Oh, childcare is ridiculous.
Add in 2 kids in college.
Exactly, and then the price skyrocketing price of college.
For the
college
average
is not cheap. When I started,
like for the average working class couple, if you have 2 or 3 kids, say within 1 or 2 years of each other, and you're married or whatever, or you're together, you're living together, somebody got to quit their job just because if you put your kids in childcare, one person is working to pay for childcare.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Like it's ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah, my wife,
You
my
know,
wife was a stay-at-home mom
in Europe,
for
guess what?
12 years.
You get free or subsidized like childcare, so you can still work and have a life and do what you need to do. Like, no,
Wasn't
They're
that
not
out of
parents.
the infrastructure
Then we-
power?
no, like there's you get subsidized childcare whether you work or you don't work. That like they still say that you need to be your own individual person, and if somebody was staying at home, they can put their child in childcare and do like they can volunteer, do whatever, chill at home, whatever they need to do.
Child
And then,
tax credit, a child tax credit, you talking?
no, it's not a credit, it's paid for, not a credit. See, in America, everything's a credit. Like you got to pay in advance and then get it back. Over there, it's just no, the bill is paid.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. My wife was a stay-at-home mom for 12 years, and while we saved on child, it was definitely a wants and needs situation, and we worked it out. We had everything we needed, and a few of the things we wanted, but it was the best thing because we save a lot of money on childcare. My kids, with her being home, my kids both went to school. Both my kids got partial scholarships when they went to school, and even before they went to school, they knew how to read. So there were the benefits but it is a struggle. But after a while, it was like, okay, you got to go back to work now.
But let me tell you this, because Sean will tell you this, because working for the state of Connecticut, you have people that go through their working test period, their probation period, and they get hired. The first thing they do, and Sean could tell you this, they gonna go buy a car. All right, I made it through my working test period. I'm gonna go get a car. I'm gonna get me a little small starter house. Next thing you know, they done did some stuff like the dude they dating is dating somebody, dating this other chick, and this chick comes into the office and you gonna get into a confrontation. You work for Department of Social Service, you're gonna get a confrontation with some chick in front of all the clients and everything. And we gotta save your job. And you're like, well, I just bought a house. I bought a car. I said, you just got hired. Why did you buy a car? Well, I figured I was gonna be here for a year. I'm like, well, I hope it work out for you. Yo,
I think that's
the stigma.
To be honest, I would confrontation with the other chick.
Yeah, I think that's a bigger
like
thing.
Your job is a little bit more
your job is more important than
whoever
your boyfriend's side piece.
It
happens. But
I'm not saying that it don't, DJ.
Yeah, I'm just saying
that's the smarter choice.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Leave your man.
But think about it too. Just
kick his ass out.
Just on a job level. If we are 25, I'm just picking 25. Out of school, IT making 75 grand. What are we gonna do? We're gonna go buy a car and we're gonna go buy a house. You know, I think that situation you brought up is obviously an isolated situation, and then that's not smart. But we would do the same thing. We would do the same thing. I'm buying a car. If I'm getting out of college and
so it's not an anecdote.
If I'm getting out of college and I'm making 75 grand, I'm buying a car.
Yeah, but
like, and my son,
you literally summed up what my plan is. Fuck.
My son is an engineering major. And my other son is a computer science major. If my son gets out, he is expected, he's a junior. He's expected to get out and make about 80 grand when he starts. I mean, I'm gonna counsel him, and I'm if he wants to get a car because of the 4 years he put in the heart, he's good. I'm gonna advise him not to get an $80,000 car. But if he gets a car, I'm not gonna stop him from getting a car. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if he wants to get a house, or if he wants to save to get a house, I'll let him live here till he gets a house. But I'm gonna move him.
Are you gonna counsel him
in
to
that
buy
direction.
or lease? Buy or lease?
What'd you say?
You gonna counsel him to buy a car or lease a car?
I would say buy the first one.
There you go. That's
yeah. No, I'm not gonna tell him whatever he wants to do.
When I came back from deployment, I bought me a 2008 Cadillac, brand new. Do you know I still got that car? and I could afford to trade it in or whatever, I'm
You're
still
right. I guess it's
rolling in
not an
that caddy.
antidote.
Man, I don't know about you, but there's nothing better than a paid off car, man. A car
Yeah,
is paid off. That's
right.
the
Let
best
me
feeling in the
tell you.
world.
Yeah.
You
Let
know?
me tell you, I'm still rolling in
yeah.
that caddy. That caddy right now is right there ready to go, bro. And
I
it
don't
runs
even like
beautiful.
taking my car to the mechanic.
It runs beautiful. Before the winter started, I took it to the guy. I said, "Do whatever you need to do to it," and it cost me like $3,000, but I got peace of mind.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
all
Sounds
individual
nice.
preference. It's all individual preference. Like,
To
of,
piggyback
you
with
know
Leon,
what you want. What'd you say?
I was gonna say to piggyback what Leon was saying. Me and my wife had a sit down with our kids and talked to them about the importance of credit, importance of paying your bills.
Credit didn't
Because-
even exist until the 90s.
Because I didn't have
I
this.
didn't know that.
I didn't have this conversation with my parents.
Me neither.
So I
Neither did
I learned the hard way. I got my first credit card when I went to Manchester Community College.
Yeah, me too.
And you know how when the Citibank, they would sit outside the
Right
admissions
outside.
office.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I signed up and got a car. I was like, oh look, where'd I go? Went to Buckley Hills Mall, went to Foot Locker. I was buying stuff.
Yep. The Oak
And
Tree.
Man, this shit,
and learn.
the stupid shit I brought with my credit card, man, when I was in college, I bought like pizza on a damn credit card.
I never had.
You know?
I never had good enough credit to get one.
Aaron, what you do is you get yourself a starter card, something with a low.
Tried, credit was too low. Thanks, Mom.
A low max.
My first credit
max
card was
on it.
a G Fox credit card, believe it or not, because I worked there. And that was the only way I could get my discount.
Mine was too.
Card.
I used to work at the distribution warehouse out in South Windsor. Yep.
Yeah, that was my first credit
Get a
card.
what?
I was 16,
We'll
and that was the
talk about it
only
later.
way I could get one. And then I fell into the trap that Sean fell into, with them standing outside. You walking through the student center. Oh yeah, come and get the card.
Yeah.
You come and get the card. But I did the same thing as you, Sean. It was just
So
really.
am I the only one here who had the thing where their parent put their like credit and shit in their name and didn't tell them? Because most of the other Black people I know have had that experience.
Fortunately, I didn't have that experience.
I had that.
I was in a car accident. And I got a $5,000. They gave me, the insurance came in. I never even saw the check. And she used that, I guess, to get the home that we ended up going in when we finally moved out of the projects and stuff. But my mom wouldn't, shoot, please. Your money was her money.
Close
What
enough.
were you saying? What were you saying, Leon?
No, I was saying I had the same conversation as you with my boys, just about the responsibility with regard to school and credit cards and moving forward. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to, but we are responsible. You know what I mean? We are those people, because we did not have those conversations. I didn't have those conversations with my parents. You know what I mean? Not at all.
Nope.
But we're different. We're more responsible. I should say we're
more
learning
educated
more
on the topic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have more knowledge. And once you have more knowledge, you can share it.
Yeah. I couldn't have that conversation with my parents. I was the first child, male on either side of my family throughout history to go to college.
Yep.
So I had to learn the hard way.
Ditto.
Fellas,
and thank God I went to the military, because that loan was terrible.
Gotta run, Mike.
Mike, I want to see you run. Show us your run.
Yeah, actually, I do too.
Yeah,
I get up at 6 in the morning.
Buddy. I think we should wrap this up, man. But I do think we should continue this discussion about finances another episode. I think it's a good good discussion.
That's good. And I think we should really take into account how much the economic landscape has changed. You know, because we are each kind of like, Aaron and I are closer. I mean, I'm kind of in between most of y'all.
Yeah.
But like Aaron and I are fairly close. I mean, you and I are the youngest. I mean, you're young,
But
you're
Mike,
significantly younger than me, but I'm
Mike, you
younger than all
also
y'all.
touched on something that we need to bring up too. You touched on the importance of social programs and things like that. So we need
Right.
to
I
touch
used
on
a
that
number
too.
of those programs. Thank God for them.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think they are important with help to bridge the gap.
I love
the huge
I love
gap.
having food.
I can't imagine where I'd be in my general situation if I wasn't on state healthcare. Like,
Oh,
it'd be
dude,
bad.
me too. Remember the shooting that happened? $225,000. Yeah, they were not.
I mean, there's a bunch of folks out there who think we shouldn't even have any social programs.
Yep.
So,
because fuck the poor.
And
Fuck
of
'em.
course y'all know I'm gonna be the devil's advocate. There are some essential programs, and like when you was talking about them opening up, a methadone clinic and stuff, something to help these drug addicts and stuff like that.
At
and
the
I
expense of property values.
Yeah, no,
for black people.
I believe me,
Or
and
people
I'm
in general.
all with you on that. But you know they not opening it up in Greenwich and Madison.
thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what's funny?
That's how I responded.
I just sent you guys a text about it. Go ahead, Mike.
Greenwich has a public housing authority.
Do they?
Wow.
They do.
They do.
Really?
There's people with Section 8.
I had to drop off documents there one time. It's a halfway nice building. It's this big brick building.
At my job, somebody applied for benefits and they live in Greenwich on Section 8. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In Greenwich? Wow.
But
Yeah.
you have if you get incentives if you provide a certain amount of public housing in certain areas. So
Right, you get grants.
Like for
You get
instance,
grants.
my company like they get like if they provide a certain amount of affordable housing, they get better deals. So
you get grants.
It's all so in I'm not surprised in Greenwich they have those programs because okay, you can build this, but if you build a whole condo unit of 50 units of condos, you gotta have 5 that are affordable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You ain't building no projects in Greenwich.
But
no affordable housing.
Well,
I can guarantee you that.
It'll have a different look, but also I have issue with public housing. Actually, DJ, you know what might be interesting for you to do, or really anybody, and then I'm leaving. Look up public housing in pick any country.
Right.
Pick public housing in
than here.
Yeah,
try Australia.
Look Australia. Look at it in France. Look at it in Germany. It's just real interesting.
And the stigma
lived in public
about
housing.
it is different too. The stigma about it is different in other countries. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not look like you're in public.
Okay, you know what? Here's the thing. I will load up a bunch of videos. I shared them once a long time ago in the chat. I don't know which chat I will refer to, so I'll just do it a bunch of times. I'm leaving.
Yeah, so am I. I gotta get up at 6.
All right, Mike. I think the stigma, if you're in public housing in Greenwich, I would hate to be the kid growing up in that situation.
Going to the public school and going to the public
food stamps.
I know.
We did.
I would rather be.
Here's the thing: the kids you're thinking of actually all go to private
my
school.
family.
You
Like
just
talking specifically about me. That's exactly how we came up. Actually,
you be fighting every day. You be fighting.
We did.
Every day.
No,
you know what? They wouldn't even know.
You're not knuckling.
But you didn't live in Greenwich, though.
Different type.
No, I lived
I'm
in
just saying. Could you
Waterbury and Camden.
That's what I'm saying. You were the only person that was on public assistance. Could you imagine being
like
a child?
The problem was when we got into Camden, because in some of the schools we lived in, because the way we were districted, like when we went to Spring Glen, we knew.
Even Hamden.
I got it. That's what I'm saying, especially when we went to Spring Glen.
Think about it. Did we know in Windsor who lived in public housing?
I didn't really.
I didn't.
You'll
you, Sean?
Them people in Greenwich know.
Yes, they do.
Their parents know. Their parents know. Sometimes, truth be told, when you grow up really poor, you start to realize your friends have shit that you just don't. After a while, it's something more you can feel internally, even if you can't always see it.
Yeah.
That's
a hard
when
sell.
you old,
Yeah.
your friends have shit you don't.
No,
My friends have a Porsche. I don't have a Porsche.
I remember
Like,
when
I got in trouble once. This was like the worst. I was in 3rd grade, Spring Glen, and I was just being really honest and candid. I was mad that day because I didn't get shit for my birthday, and I told one of my classmates. So the next day, the classmate came in with a Transformers toy. Big Transformer nerd. Boy, howdy did I get spanked when I got home. My mom could not stand the idea that she let it out that we were poor.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I remember when my sons were younger.
Good traumatization.
And we were looking at private schools, so we looked at most of them in the region that we were in, and we looked at a country day school. We looked at, I think it was a Hopkins school, and kind of where was that, West Haven, or close to where the Yale Bowl is at. We went to one of the places, and like when they said like, yeah, I mean, we came across some other friends of ours that were African American, and then the lady started talking about, yeah, we have programs where like when the kids get older, like they can like help the janitors do this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh hell no. Hell no. My boys are not
the other thing,
this. They're gonna go someplace where we can really afford to send their ass, because I'm not having them go to school and then have their classmates look at them after school going through the trash cans, this, that, and the other. Not happening.
Yeah, we don't know how to get over either.
We did that at Hammond High School. I needed the money.
We don't know how to get over either. Leon, we don't know how to get over. There's a Georgetown. I work like 5 minutes from Georgetown University. Georgetown is $80 grand a year. 80 grand a year.
Dang.
80. And you know what? I read there was a story down here of what some of these
32,000 for undergrad.
Yeah. 80 grand a year. And what some of these families were doing, rich families, they were having their nannies or their housekeepers be their kids' guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was a story down here, and I mean, who would think of some shit like that? So they could get
rich people got away.
Rich people like that.
Me,
not
they got away
for you,
because they can afford them attorneys who can give them, or them tax attorneys, whoever can find every little shortcut.
Every nannies, man.
Exactly, DJ. That's what I'm saying. It's like a lot of problems that we don't know. We don't know the shortcuts. So we're learning the game, but we're learning it 2 moves behind the other man.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're learning. Oh yeah, I can get out of this tax on money. But they're a step ahead, and that's what happens. A lot of these families.
I can have an LLC at my house and write off my car and electricity and shit.
You could put your money. Put your money in a mutual fund instead of a bank.
The same thing.
That's the one I just heard.
It's the same thing DJ can attest to when we both worked in long-term care, and we got people who are applying from Greenwich, Fairfield, applying for Medicaid for home care, and getting eligible. They hire attorneys, trust, to hide all their money so that they can be eligible for Medicaid.
Yeah, we discussed that. We know about that.
Yeah, we have discussed that.
The majority of our applications.
You got to be able to afford the attorney or the accountant. You got to be able to afford it.
How to get over.
Yeah.
I mean,
fix the broken system. Just saying.
The company that I work for, like we rent, like we own apartment units and all that stuff, and the majority of the apartments are rented by Georgetown students. These are apartments that 2-bedroom apartments at $6 grand a month, and they're always full. I mean, even like it's
probably a write-off. They dad or somebody got a write-off on that.
It's a have and have nots. Like one of the apartments where we that we rent, the grandson of the heir to freaking Eminem Mars lives in one of the apartments. $8,000 a month, nothing to them. They pay for the whole year.
Of course,
ain't that some shit?
Yeah.
And the majority of it is for the zip code.
Probably writing that $8,000 a month off because
sure.
of the attorney that they have access to, or tax
Don't you want-
person they have access to.
DJ, do you want them taxed? 'Cause I would like to see that shit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? It ain't that taxes is not, it's not singular to Republicans and it's not singular to Democrats, because I can tell you both of them are taking advantage of it.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Yep. I agree.
Both of them are taking, and they will not change the laws. People saying,
Heck
and people
no.
saying like they saying about tax Trump.
Why would you?
Trump didn't create that tax. That tax was there before Trump even became president. That tax write-off. So
We still
They
getting
change-
fucked by. We
you mean
still
his
getting fucked
tax
by Trump's
cuts
tax cut.
or what's the one that was the big controversial one about like inheritance tax? You mean that one?
Inheritance.
yeah, estate.
Thank you. I couldn't think of it for the life.
State
of me.
taxes. Yeah.
Estate tax. Please.
What the fuck is an estate? I don't
No,
fucking
so
know.
no. That's
All
that's the
your
word.
wealth,
That's the
all
word
everything
happened.
your grandmother, that dying grandmother had, the millions of dollars that's in trust and all that type of stuff.
No, that's the wordsmithing that happened. It used to be called the estate tax, and then Republicans wordsmithed it to inheritance, and then it got the backlash because people.
It ain't just the Republicans, bro. It ain't just
Nah.
the Republicans.
They champion the cause.
Yo, bro, it ain't just the Republicans.
They champion the cause.
Well,
I'm
the
not saying that-
Republicans is now
I'm
the
not saying
Republican
that-
tax.
I'm not saying that the
is the tax that I
Democrats
gotta
didn't vote
pay
for it,
now.
DJ. I'm not saying that the
Yeah.
Democrats didn't vote for it. I'm saying the Republicans was front and center and advocating. They was the spokesperson.
That vote was
Fellas,
probably
I'ma bounce,
98%.
You're right.
Probably
You're
2%.
right.
All right,
You're right.
peace out,
That
Black
vote was
Steel.
probably 98%.
No, but what I'm saying
Both
is,
parties.
Listen, I just
no,
want you
hold
to
on a
know,
second.
Black
I'm
Steel
saying
in
party.
the movie,
Republicans
we
champion
won't
the
have
cause
Shaquille
of
O'Neal play you.
changing
promise.
the public perception from the estate tax
All right,
to
y'all.
the inheritance.
Nah,
All right,
Leon, we
Leon.
need more Leo.
All right,
No,
man.
son.
We it's time to
Be
close up
Craven
shop,
the
man.
Hunter.
Hey, yo, man, enjoy
All right,
the
brothers.
conversation, man. Love y'all, bro.
All right, man.
All right,
Definitely.